Zhao Lin finally relaxed once she realized the hidden evolver backing her was a true powerhouse. At first she'd been tight and cautious, dodging more than striking. But when bullets began bending away from her mid-flight, she dropped the brakes. With an invisible ace on her side, she went bold. Twin tactical daggers in hand, she even pressed the three-headed evolved zombie without guarding. On paper, it was suicide, but Ji Rushue's interference kept Lu Chuan's blows from ever landing. Freed up, Zhao Lin started carving lines into the Pang, Lightning 1 and Lightning 2. Lu Chuan was livid. 3 evolved zombies under his control, and not a single clean hit. Up close, he was forced to pull strikes. At range, bullets bent. If this wasn't cheating, what was? He hadn't expected this. In his past life, he was a free-to-play punching bag for whales. Different world, same fate. He should have been defying destiny, not getting stomped. Worse, the cop had a resurrection trick. He couldn't even put her down. He'd come downstairs confident. Minutes later, he was grinding his teeth. Zhao Lin, buoyed by Ji Rushue's cover, toyed with all 3. Ji Rushue, watching, frowned and sent a sharp thought across their link. Stop stalling. Forget those 3. Today's target is the Corpse King. She rubbed her temples. Is she seriously having fun right now? Does she think I'm an infinite battery? Time power hit hard and drained hard. Zhao Lin wasn't their match head-on, and with Ji Rushue shielding her, she was getting reckless. Zhao Lin might be enjoying herself. Ji Rushue was paying the cost. The reminder snapped Zhao Lin back. She broke off, angled toward the gate, and, catching a gap, slipped in a sunshine district. Lu Chuan reacted late. He tried to pull the Pang and the Lightning twins across her path, but an unseen force pinned them a heartbeat in place. "Who's hiding back there?" he snarled. "Come out and fight if you've got the spine." With his puppet stalled, he moved himself. He would not let anyone step inside and threaten little Chi-Chi. Zhao Lin blinked when another evolved zombie burst from the horde to intercept. On the second floor, Ji Rushue's stomach dropped. Why is Dad moving? He doesn't need to obey the Corpse King. He shouldn't be cannon fodder. Too late. Steel met steel. Lu Chuan ripped a machete free and cut for Zhao Lin without hesitation. She crossed her daggers and met him. The courtyard filled with hard flashes of metal. Surprise crept into Zhao Lin's eyes. This one fought like a specialist. Fast, direct, every angle hunting a vital. The longer it went, the more it worried her. 2 knives, all skill, and she was still getting edged out. Great. Sunshine District is worse than I thought. This one's tougher than the 3 outside. How did a normal evolved zombie read her so well? While he fenced with her, Lu Chuan tested the invisible binds on his other 3. The restraint felt brief, limited. He hauled the Pang and the Lightning pair toward him the second it eased. Seeing them closing, Ji Rushue knew the mission would collapse if this dragged on. She stared at her zombie dad, torn, then set her jaw and froze him with time control. "Sorry, Dad. I need the Corpse King dead. When he's gone, you'll be free." She sent another pulse to Zhao Lin. "Move. Get inside now." Zhao Lin saw the zombie before her lockup and lifted a boot to kick, then found herself hovering, body immobile. What? Even teammates were fair game? Ji Rushue's voice cut into her mind. "Do not touch that one." Zhao Lin froze when Ji Rushue's words hit her. "What do you mean this zombie can't be touched? Was he one of theirs?" The sudden order from the unseen ally threw her off. What is this invisible thinking? Since when do we spare zombies? She couldn't make sense of it. Ji Rushue didn't bother explaining. Her voice pressed into Zhao Lin's mind again. "Focus. Our target is the Corpse King in Sunshine District. Do not attack this zombie." There was a warning in her tone. Zhao Lin's instincts told her that if she ignored it, the invisible might turn on her. She still didn't understand, but the mission came first. With a grim click of her tongue, she broke off and sprinted into the district. Lu Chuan moved to pursue and hit the wall of that unseen force again. Every muscle locked. He could only stand there like stone while Zhao Lin slipped past him. He seethed. He had been pinned all night by this power. Without it, the officer would already be a corpse. "Stop. Now." His roar chased her into the dark. From a start, she had a clear objective. She provoked Depang, tangled with his 3 evolved puppets, and used the chaos to breach Sunshine District. He did not know her exact aim, but he knew what mattered. Little Chi-Chi. He had swept the district clean. There was nothing here worth a human evolver's life except the child. Rage surged, and he fought the restraint until his vision swam. Even after consuming cores and growing stronger, he could not move. Time itself felt locked around him. He could only watch her vanish inside. Cold intent rolled off him and seemed to chill the air. "I won't let you go," he said, voice low and deadly. His howl tore through the night, and nearby zombies cringed. Upstairs, Rushua watched her zombie father thrash against the invisible chains and felt a sharp stab of guilt. She had never imagined she would turn her power on him. "I'm sorry, Dad. This is for you. When tonight ends, it will be better." Her eyes stung, but she forced herself to focus. Zhao Lin had broken in and now wandered like a lost bee. No path, no plan. Rushua sent another thought. The Corpse King is clever, but a coward. It hides behind numbers. Wherever you find a tight wall of zombies, that is its den. If they throw themselves at you, the king is still in sunshine. Anger flared again as she thought of the king using her father as fodder. If the king lived, her father would never be fully free. He would never have a stable life. Keep searching. Follow the densest resistance. That is the nest. Zhao Lin nodded to herself. The logic was sound. She adjusted her route and began a careful sweep. Chuan was still frozen, but his puppets were not. He sent one group to intercept Zhao Lin and another to Building 5. Little Chi-Chi was his weakness and his reverse scale. Before the apocalypse, he had lost hope. The child had changed that. She was the reason he stayed alive. Nothing would touch her, not while he drew breath. Zhao Lin cut through the district, carving past shamblers without slowing. A second-tier evolver made short work of them. She downed a few of Chuan's puppets, then stopped in the central courtyard, frowning. Everything fit the Invisible's intel, but there was no obvious nest. No choke point. No wall of bodies. She turned in place, scanning the buildings, confused. On the rooftop, Rushua pushed her vision across the streets and felt her stomach drop. A mass of zombies had gathered at last. They were clustered at Building 5, the same building where she and her zombie father had spent their days.
Hey everyone, Firescale Audiobooks here. If there's a novel you'd love to hear more of, you can support us on Patreon or Ko-fi. Depending on your tier, I'll make extra parts just for the stories you're most excited about. Usually I can only upload 4 to 5 parts of each novel, but with your support, we can go beyond that. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. It helps more than you know.
What is going on with these zombies? Why are they all running to my building? Rushua felt very puzzled when she saw the zombies below Building Number 5. Within the Sunshine District, whether they're evolved zombies or ordinary ones, they're generally under the control of the Corpse King hidden in the shadows. Given the current situation, the zombies should be rushing to protect the Corpse King first. Rushua remembers clearly that while the Corpse King can control zombies, its combat strength isn't actually that strong. If the Corpse King is approached by human evolvers, danger is highly likely to occur. So every Corpse King is very afraid of dying and wouldn't leave the protection of a zombie horde. It's really strange. I've already checked every room in Building Number 5, and there's only the supplies moved by the zombie dad. Just what's up with these zombies? While Rushua was still feeling puzzled, Zhao Lin, following her directions, had already found Building Number 5, where the zombies were congregating. Seeing the zombies tightly shielding Building Number 5 behind them, a resolute look flashed in Zhao Lin's eyes. Just as the Invisible said, the Corpse King gathers zombies when it senses danger. Zhao Lin could now clearly see the 4 evolved zombies she had previously encountered were gathered together with many ordinary zombies, without any conflict among them. To Zhao Lin, this was a very bizarre situation. Looks like the Corpse King that can control the zombies is hiding inside Building Number 5. Roar! Roar! The zombies under Chuan's control let out furious warning cries. In the silent moonlit night, these zombie screams were extremely terrifying. Yet the thought that this corpse king could pose a huge threat to humans filled Zhao Lin's eyes with determination. No matter what, the corpse king must be eliminated today, or humanity in Jianghai City will never have peace. Today, the corpse king must be removed. Zhao Lin shouted angrily, waving her tactical dagger and charged directly at building number 5. What's wrong with her? Why is this policewoman charging towards building number 5? Did she have brain damage after coming back to life? Why is she fixated on me? Standing in front of building number 5, Lu Chuan felt both shocked and enraged seeing Zhao Lin sprinting towards him. Originally, he wanted to guard the entire Sunshine District, but didn't expect the abilities of that secret evolver to be so strange. The power that could freeze him in place filled Lu Chuan with great dread. Thus, he had no choice but to pull back, relinquishing other areas of the Sunshine District, and consolidate his forces to defend around building number 5. After all, the entire Sunshine District wasn't important to him. The only thing he couldn't tolerate was these two human evolvers disturbing little Chi-Chi on the 7th floor. As long as his daughter was unharmed, everything else could be left to these two evolvers to mess around with. But what Lu Chuan didn't expect was that even after he chose to compromise, these two evolvers were still relentlessly aggressive. Damn it, why are you forcing me? I've already given you the Sunshine District, yet you still push me. If that's the case, today I'll fight you to the death. Lu Chuan's blood-colored eyes radiated a chilling, murderous intent. In the pitch-black night, his eyes seemed to glow with a faint red light. Come on, since you decided to push me, let's fight to the end. I've already died once, so even if I put my life on the line today, I won't let you take a step into building number 5. Today, these two human evolvers thoroughly touched Lu Chuan's scales. Lu Chuan looked up at the 7th floor. A gentle look flashed in his eyes. It was the only solace for his soul since coming to this strange world. Under Lu Chuan's control, Depang swung his double hammers and charged in the front. Bang, bang, bang. Due to Lu Chuan's anger, Depang's combat power was even stronger than usual. Every move was without reservation. Facing the increasingly fierce zombies, Zhao Lin showed no fear. Swish, swish, swish. Her twin tactical daggers danced like buzzing bees and flitting butterflies, their blades stained with zombie blood. Even though wounded, Depang's hammers still swung powerfully, cracking the surrounding concrete ground. Swish, swish. Amidst the sound of slicing through the air, two slender figures darted from the zombie horde, their snow-white blades shimmering silver in the moonlight. Zhao Lin hastily retreated, but Depang relentlessly pursued, his giant hammer aimed at Zhao Lin's stomach. At this moment, Lu Chuan once again felt the arrival of that mysterious power. Depang's body froze, allowing Zhao Lin to narrowly avoid the edge of the giant hammer. Immediately, Lightning 1 and 2 swung their twin blades, trapping Zhao Lin from both sides to cut off a retreat. But just as Lu Chuan was about to succeed again, this force once again descended upon Lightning 1. Zhao Lin seized the chance to evade from the immobilized Lightning 1's right rear, dodging this fatal blow. Repeatedly restrained by the mysterious hidden evolver, Lu Chuan was filled with fury. Roar! Letting out a roar, Lu Chuan grabbed a machete and joined the battle himself. With powerful combat skills, the enraged Lu Chuan immediately suppressed Zhao Lin, leaving her unable to lift her head. But to Lu Chuan's frustration, every time his attack was about to strike Zhao Lin, that strange power would intervene. Even though he struggled with all his might, he couldn't break free from the opposing constraint. Damn it! If you have guts, come out and fight. Lu Chuan was immobilized again, letting out a howl of anger. At this moment, Zhao Lin took advantage of Lu Chuan's immobility. Her tactical dagger immediately thrust forward, aiming straight for Lu Chuan's neck. Let's see if you die this time, Zhao Lin thought with a chilling smirk. But in the next second, she suddenly discovered in shock that she too was frozen in place. This instantly darkened Zhao Lin's expression. Next, Zhao Lin deliberately exposed a weakness, her feet wobbling as she stumbled backward. Sure enough, Chuan swung his blade down instinctively. Just as Zhao Lin had anticipated, the invisible once again restrained the zombie. Zhao Lin seized the gap and advanced with her dagger, but unexpectedly, she was stopped again. Unable to bear it any longer, Zhao Lin shouted in anger. "Enough! Which side are you on?" Ji Rushue's face was similarly dark as she responded coldly. "I've told you, you cannot touch this zombie." Feeling the coldness in the other's tone, Zhao Lin couldn't help but speculate about the connection between the invisible and the zombie in front of her. Could it be this zombie is a relative of the invisible? As a police officer, Zhao Lin keenly sensed that the invisible person in the shadows must have some kind of connection with the zombie before her. Otherwise, when she attacked other zombies, the invisible person did not react at all. But uniquely for this zombie in front of her, the invisible person repeatedly warned her not to harm it. And now, she's even restricted by a force directly applied on her. This invisible one is an evolver, yet hasn't joined the human team. Could it be for this zombie? Feeling Ji Rushue's unique attitude towards Chuan, Zhao Lin's mind instantly filled with various scenarios. The other party is clearly a strong human evolver, yet is always hidden in the shadows and refuse to show themselves, evidently wanting to destroy the zombies, yet using this peculiar ability to restrict her movements. At that moment, Zhao Lin couldn't help but recall the early days of the apocalypse, participating in rescue operations as a police officer and seeing many survivors who had lost loved ones. Many could not accept that their family and friends had turned into zombies, insisting it was just a disease and refused to take action against them. Sentiments of family loyalty made these people unwilling to accept the fact that their loved ones were gone. Now, Zhao Lin considered this invisible person as someone like those she encountered before. After imagining a scene of family separation by life and death, a trace of sympathy flashed in Zhao Lin's eyes. This invisible one is still too indecisive. Apocalypse comes and family leaves. It is undoubtedly a sad thing, but the opponent in front is obviously a bloodthirsty zombie, and now a puppet of the Corpse King. Zhao Lin sighed helplessly, feeling obligated as a police officer to let this evolver see the truth. Immediately, Zhao Lin shouted loudly, "Open your eyes and take a good look. He is now a zombie. Do you think you are saving him? No, you are harming him. He has long lost his sanity and is no longer human. Could you wake up? If you really care for him, you should let him escape this bloodthirsty body soon." At this time, Zhao Lin was firmly convinced that the evolver hidden in the shadows couldn't let go of past family ties, hence the indecision. Zhao Lin's sudden actions left Chuan dumbfounded. Why is this woman suddenly shouting at the air? Is she talking to the evolver hiding in the dark? Chuan glanced at the zombies beside him, feeling puzzled. Is it possible that within the corpse puppets I control, there exists a relative of that evolver? Is that why they keep watching my Sunshine District? Focused on stopping Zhao Lin, Chuan was unaware that Zhao Lin and Ji Rushue were discussing him, not other zombies. Away from the scene, Ji Rushue naturally heard Zhao Lin's words, but had no intention to explain. Because Ji Rushue knew that even if she explained, the other would never believe it. After all, if she hadn't experienced it herself, she wouldn't believe it either. Although her father is a zombie, he remarkably retains human consciousness. In this matter, Ji Rushue holds only one stance. No one can harm her father. Though having 2 lifetimes, she has never felt the warmth of family. Only after rebirth did she feel in her zombie father the care and attention, being remembered and looked after every day. With her zombie father, Ji Rushue felt real familial affection. After the apocalypse, humans had long abandoned humanity, and for Ji Rushue, those despicable humans were no more noble than her zombie father. Seeing the invisible person fall silent after hearing her words, Zhao Lin thought she had successfully convinced them. In her heart, Zhao Lin sighed quietly. Just as I thought, this invisible one has an unspeakable past. It doesn't matter, since you can't be ruthless. Let me help you sever ties with the painful past. Zombies are zombies, humans are humans, It's time for you to fully awaken. Zhao Lin immediately attacked Lu Chuan again, with moves becoming even more ruthless than before. Lu Chuan grew in constant combat, while Zhao Lin, as an evolver, was also learning. Both their combat skills were continually improving. Though Zhao Lin wished to kill the zombie, Lu Chuan's combat skills were entirely above hers. Furthermore, with several other evolved zombies assisting, Zhao Lin was no match for Lu Chuan and had to rely on Ji Shue, saving her from the shadows time and again. Even after being saved multiple times, Zhao Lin's resolve to kill Lu Chuan only grew stronger. In Zhao Lin's view, only by killing the zombie before her could she truly help the Invisible One in the shadows. For the living, having family members turned into zombies feels like an invisible chain binding them to the pre-apocalypse. Poor Invisible One, even as an evolver, why can't you see the truth? No matter who he was in life, he is now turned into a zombie, a bloodthirsty, killing zombie. He doesn't recognize your face, can't discern your voice. He will only rabidly hunt you because of the scent of the living on you. Zhao Lin's dagger swung faster and faster, seemingly making aiding the Invisible One by severing the past her more significant goal. In Zhao Lin's eyes, the dead are gone, and the living continue. Dwelling in the past benefits no one. Since the dawn of the apocalypse over 2 months ago, Zhao Lin had helped numerous survivors by killing zombies that were once family many times. At this moment, Lu Chuan was unwilling, clearly stronger than Zhao Lin, yet the hidden evolver repeatedly stopped him. The feeling of having strength but unable to use it made Lu Chuan burn with rage, but left helpless. Once more enslaved by the mysterious force holding him in place. Watching Zhao Lin's dagger nearing his forehead, Lu Chuan struggled, but to no avail. At that moment, only the image of little Chi-Chi appeared in Lu Chuan's mind. Little Chi-Chi, I'm sorry, Dad tried his best. I never expected I could not keep my promise. It's Dad's fault for not protecting you. Just as Zhao Lin's dagger was about to pierce Lu Chuan's forehead, she was once again immobilized by Ji Shue. I've told you, you cannot harm him. Ji Shue's voice was filled with anger, even carrying a trace of chilling, killing intent. Damn it, this idiot is unbelievably foolish. Upon hearing Ji Shue's slightly threatening words, Zhao Lin felt a surge of anger. Clearly possessing such powerful strength, yet so indecisive, does this invisible plan to live with their memories forever? Zhao Lin cursed inwardly, not anticipating that her originally flawless plan would go off course due to her teammates' indecision. Previously at the police station, her colleagues often said she was too kind and naive, and that she always hesitated in this apocalyptic world. Yet, Zhao Lin couldn't believe she'd encounter someone even more indecisive today. The end of the world has been here for so long. Doesn't this fool understand yet? Zombies are just zombies. They have no connection to the people they were before. Even if they look identical, they are completely different entities. At this moment, Zhao Lin's eyes were filled with murderous intent, wanting to kill Lu Chuan before her. Among the zombies she'd been battling repeatedly, the one with the most ordinary appearance was the most intimidating. The outstanding combat skills were so pressuring that even Zhao Lin, a police officer, struggled to handle it. Despite having numerous opportunities to kill the opponent, her teammate was not up to the task. With the invisible continually obstructing in secret, Zhao Lin knew it was impossible to kill the zombie before her. Helplessly, Zhao Lin chose not to fight these zombies anymore, but dashed towards building number 5. At least tonight, she had to kill the Corpse King. Otherwise, everything she did would be for naught. Seeing Zhao Lin trying to reach building number 5, Lu Chuan immediately brandished a knife to block her. Building 5 was his final boundary, and Lu Chuan would never allow anyone else to enter. However, just as Lu Chuan swung his knife in midair, that strange force descended again, restricting Lu Chuan's body once more. Damn it, I'm definitely going to kill you all. Stand still, if you have the guts, set me free and let's have a real fight. Roar. Trapped and unable to move, Lu Chuan could only let out roars. his face twisting into a terrifying grimace. Lu Chuan's frightening roars made the surrounding zombies shiver uncontrollably. Fortunately, Ji Rushue's telekinesis was limited now and couldn't hold for too long, and after briefly being released, Lu Chuan quickly caught up with Zhao Lin. "I told you, no one is allowed to enter." With red eyes, Lu Chuan kept swinging his machete at Zhao Lin, and although Zhao Lin was almost at the door, she was forced to turn and defend. Bam! This time Lu Chuan's attack was strong, and Zhao Lin failed to block it temporarily, being knocked straight back against the unit door. Screech! The old iron door emitted a teeth-chattering sound, and even the iron sheet on the door bent. Damn it! This zombie is really troublesome. Zhao Lin's face turned pale. The enormous recoil made her insides quake. But Zhao Lin ignored this, quickly reaching back to yank the door open. Whoosh! Suddenly, the sound of something breaking through the air came from behind, and Zhao Lin instinctively dodged aside, only to see a steel knife flying past, slicing straight into the door, sparking metal upon impact. Even the iron sheet on the door was shaved significantly by this knife. Damn it! Are you done yet? Zhao Lin was a loss for words, initially believing today's plan to eliminate the Corpse King would go without a hitch, but hadn't expected the invisible teammate to be so indecisive that she couldn't even kill a zombie. In the end, she was stuck outside the building, unable to proceed with her mission. At this moment, she could fully relate to Lu Chuan's earlier feeling. Zhao Lin felt at a loss. Fighting seemed pointless, as did not fighting. Meant to kill zombies, but being restricted by a fellow human evolver, she was almost furious enough to spit blood. Bam, bam, bam. Using this opportunity, Lu Chuan approached Zhao Lin directly. Though unarmed, his well-honed combat skills kept him on par in the confrontation. Unable to harm the opponent, Zhao Lin could only keep dodging, while Lu Chuan's fists pounded the iron door, leaving one imprint after another. In the distance, Ji Rushue saw her zombie dad fighting so desperately and felt very confused. What's up with Dad today? I've seen him always laying low among the zombie hordes. Why is he so fiercely fighting against evolvers today? Lu Chuan's unusual behavior today left Ji Rushue utterly puzzled. Is the Corpse King really in building number 5? I've been to every floor and room of building 5, and besides supplies, there's no sign of the Corpse King anywhere. Could the zombies here be protecting the supplies my dad has gathered? Does that stuff even matter to zombies? Ji Rushue irritably ruffled her hair, unable to comprehend where her flawless plans had gone wrong. Did these zombies come here because the Corpse King senses danger and summoned them? What exactly is inside building number 5? Could it possibly be for me? Wait, protect me? Ji Rushue, deep in thought, suddenly froze. Something occurred to her, and she quickly glanced at her zombie dad who was furiously trying to stop the policewoman. At this moment, her zombie dad's face was twisted into an incredibly gory visage that Ji Rushue had never seen before. Ji Rushue was left staring blankly, her gaze somewhat dazed. So Dad's desperation, even willing to be hurt, isn't to protect the Corpse King, but actually me on the 7th floor? It's not the Corpse King's danger making Dad angry, but the possibility of me being discovered. His unusual actions tonight were all because he didn't want me to be harmed. Realizing all this, Ji Rushue was filled with emotion. In her 2 lifetimes, no one had ever fought so fiercely for her. But if Dad came to building 5 for me, why did the other zombies also come? Could it be Dad can command their movements? Ji Rushue's eyes widened suddenly. If this were true, then it would explain why Dad could gather supplies from an entire building while spending every day at home with her. Even during zombie battles in the community, Dad always hid somewhere close. And when going out, Dad mingled among other ordinary zombies. If she didn't recognize Dad by his clothes, there'd be no way to distinguish him from other zombies. All these signs could suggest only one possibility. Could it be Dad really is the Corpse King? Thinking of this, Ji Rushue's mind went completely blank. This was something she had never imagined. But now, All these phenomena connecting together left no other possibilities. Ji Rushue frantically ruffled her hair, finding it hard to accept this fact. How could my dad possibly be the zombie king? For a moment, Ji Rushue felt her brain was in chaos. She couldn't help but recall the zombie king she had seen in her previous life. Those guys were all bloodthirsty and brutal, slaughtering humans mercilessly upon sight. Even though the zombie king's own combat prowess wasn't particularly strong, these guys were all vicious. Many large corpse tides that occurred in the apocalypse were actually controlled by the zombie king behind the scenes, and countless human survivors perished under these tides. In the apocalypse, the zombie king was nothing short of a disaster and a harbinger of doom for human survivors. The emergence of a zombie king always accompanied a frenzy of killing. Moreover, every one of these creatures was cowardly and greedy for life, willing to manipulate zombies to do anything for survival and never exposing themselves to danger. Possessing intelligence not inferior to humans, and even surpassing them, they were exceptionally deceitful and sinister. They would even set traps to harm human survivors. In the early days of the apocalypse, human survivors were busy trying to survive in this mutated world. Coupled with the lack of experience, they had little understanding of the types and habits of zombies. Without knowing the existence of a zombie king, humans, with their inherent thinking, believed zombies were unintelligent beings. As a result, in the early days, many human survivors died because of the zombie king. Many survivors and camps were destroyed. Even many human warriors Ji Rushue knew from the early apocalypse. They perished in the zombie king's trap before they could grow stronger. Even the survivor camp where Ji Rushue lived was eventually overtaken by the zombie king leading the zombies. It could be said that the zombie king was far more dangerous to humans than any other evolved zombie. Yet the zombie king and her memories couldn't possibly connect to her zombie dad. Bang, bang, bang. The fierce battle below, building number 5, continued. Ji Rushue could see her zombie dad displaying a ferocity and brutality not usual for him. The blood-colored pupils revealed a chilling intent to kill. Each move was ruthless, devoid of the tenderness he usually showed her. Punches left dents on the iron doors, proving his current anger. Looking at her dad fighting so desperately for her, Ji Rushue truly couldn't associate him with the sinister and deceitful zombie king. How could this be? If it hadn't been for the zombie dad showing up in time, she would have starved to death. At that time, he was like a ray of light illuminating her world. Afterward, all he did every day was make milk for her, cook meals for her, and play with her. He even collected various supplies for her to give her a better life. Though her dad, like other zombies, couldn't speak whenever excited, he would pinch her cheeks to express joy and love. Such a gentle and caring zombie dad couldn't possibly be the bloodthirsty and brutal zombie king she had seen in her previous life. Even when Ji Rushue was the Empress in her past life, having experienced many life and death crises. But when this happened before her eyes, she still felt a bit confused and lost. Though unwilling to believe it, all the signs suggested that her dad was not an ordinary evolved zombie, but the zombie king controlling the Sunshine District. Ji Rushue found it hard to imagine that in the apocalypse, not to mention zombies, even humans wouldn't be as caring as her dad in such situations. How could a zombie king have the brilliance of humanity? Wait a minute. I almost forgot. My dad is a zombie who retained his human consciousness. Ji Rushue's previously confused eyes instantly brightened. It must be this way. Zombie dad retained his human consciousness for some reason. So after turning into a zombie, he still lives like a human. Because he has human consciousness, he's fundamentally different from those zombie kings I encountered before. Once Ji Rushue understood this, she suddenly saw the light. Even though the zombie king possessed intelligence, it ultimately had a zombie's mindset. But her dad was different. His body had turned into a zombie, but his consciousness hadn't changed. Ji Rushue thought of all her actions during this time and couldn't help but smile wryly at her own foolishness. I didn't think I could be this stupid. Actually trying to help dad break free from supposed zombie king control by teaming up with the 9 Death Demon Police. Clearly, all the signs were so obvious. I should have thought of this long ago. All of Dad's actions were beyond normal logic, yet I failed to link him with the Zombie King. Especially when thinking about how she had planned to kill the Zombie King and let Dad consume the crystal core. Jirushue felt unbelievably ridiculous. I was so incredibly stupid to think about gouging out Dad's crystal core. Looking at the dad below who was still fighting desperately for her, Jirushue felt immense regret. If she hadn't stopped in time, Zombie Dad might have been in danger today. If that had happened, it would have been too late for her to regret. Though she always aimed to protect Dad's safety, she had instead placed him in danger. In an instant, Jirushue's heart was filled with guilt. Just as Jirushue cleared her thoughts, the battle below had reached a fever pitch. Zhao Lin had determined that the Zombie King was in building number 5 and tried desperately to break in to kill the Zombie King. However, she was no match for Lu Chuan and a group of evolved zombies. And without Jirushue's secret help, she instantly fell into a precarious situation. Lu Chuan maneuvered Depang, Lightning 1, and Lightning 2 to encircle her, putting Zhao Lin in extreme danger facing the 4 evolved zombies. The key was because she was confident the invisible was helping her in secret. So many times she didn't defend against attacks. As a result, she suffered miserably. The rib broken by Lu Chuan's punch left Zhao Lin gasping in pain with every breath. Damn invisible. We agreed to work together to kill the Zombie King. But you're just watching. The security door of Building 5 was right behind, but Zhao Lin had no chance to open it amidst the onslaught of zombies. Is this invisible one out of her mind? The plan is about to succeed. Where did she run off to? Zhao Lin cursed endlessly in her heart. She never expected that at such a critical moment, her teammate would be so unreliable. Bang, bang, bang. Before Zhao Lin could think further, Lu Chuan's fist, the size of a sandbag, directly smashed toward her. Having devoured a second-tier Tyrant Crystal Core, Lu Chuan's physical strength had seen a massive boost. Moreover, he was furious for little Chi-Chi's safety, filling his every move with ferocity. The wind from Lu Chuan's fist was enough to alarm Zhao Lin. Facing Lu Chuan's attack, she could only keep dodging. But the enemy she faced wasn't just Lu Chuan alone. Zhao Lin had just evaded Lu Chuan's fist when a large hammer descended upon her head in the next second. Her face went pale with fright immediately, using her right foot to pedal hard against the security door to dodge the blow with the rebound force. The area in front of the unit door was narrow, and Zhao Lin had little chance to dodge while facing many foes. At this moment, Zhao Lin couldn't bother with killing the Corpse King upstairs. She fled to a more open space. After all, continuing like this, she feared for her life. Yet, Jirushue was still in shock, not having recovered from the revelation that Lu Chuan was the Corpse King. Without Jirushue's time control power, Zhao Lin facing Lu Chuan and multiple evolved zombies simultaneously was nothing short of a fool's dream. In just 2 rounds of engagement, Zhao Lin was punched in the abdomen by Lu Chuan. The force was so strong that it made Zhao Lin's eyes roll back. Even as a second-tier evolver, Lu Chuan's punch broke Zhao Lin's ribs directly. With 2 ribs broken, Zhao Lin's movement speed decreased considerably. After all, she was only human and couldn't endure pain like a zombie. Even breathing caused sharp pain due to her ribs. Seeing Zhao Lin slow down, Lu Chuan's attack speed became even more ferocious. In an instant, Zhao Lin was overwhelmed by Lu Chuan and the evolved zombies to the point of crying out in pain. Depang and Lightning 1, along with Lightning 2, were all fighting with weapons, making Zhao Lin's situation more difficult. Zhao Lin knew too well, whether it was a giant hammer or a machete, if they landed on her, it would instantly render her powerless. At this moment, she was utterly helpless and could only choose to take Lu Chuan's punches head-on. Bang, bang, bang. Lu Chuan's fists also made Zhao Lin suffer. A few punches later, she was spitting blood, and several of her bones were broken. Even her once beautiful face was swollen from Lu Chuan's hits. Zhao Lin's gaze, initially filled with determined resolve, now brimmed with terror. She felt as if her whole body was about to fall apart. Under the assault of 4 zombies, Zhao Lin was treated like a punching bag by Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan didn't know why, but the peculiar force previously enveloping them vanished, and he could attack the others now. At this moment, his exhilaration grew with each punch. All night he had been suppressed by this woman cop, holding back his strength, and now he finally had the opportunity for revenge. Lu Chuan only knew survival of the fittest, never understanding what it meant to show mercy. Bam! Another dull thud sounded as Lu Chuan landed a heavy punch, sending Zhao Lin flying 4 or 5 meters before crashing heavily to the ground. This punch made Zhao Lin spew blood and nearly lose consciousness. Zhao Lin could no longer hold back, shouting loudly, "What are you doing? If you don't intervene, I'm going to be beaten to death." Hearing Zhao Lin's cry for help, Ji Ruxue finally snapped out of her daze. Seeing the scene below 5 building, Ji Ruxue couldn't help but cover her face. She really couldn't watch. Thinking about working with the 9 Deaths Demon Police to deal with her father, Ji Ruxue couldn't help but feel ridiculous. To think Ji Ruxue in my past life was, and now I've ended up in such a fiasco, it's truly embarrassing. If she had to choose between the 9 Deaths Demon Police and her father, even if her father was the Corpse King, Ji Ruxue would still choose her father without hesitation. But the 9 Deaths Demon Police was someone she had brought along. Looking at Zhao Lin being battered and mishandled below, Ji Ruxue felt a twinge of guilt. Yet the issue was at this point, she had no good way to stop this fight. Was she to come clean with Zhao Lin? Would she tell Zhao Lin to stop the fight because the Corpse King planned to be slain was actually her father? Ji Ruxue shook her head involuntarily. Even she found the thought absurd. She couldn't figure out how to explain to the other side. After all, to humans, zombies were a menace to be eradicated. Moreover, her father was the Corpse King, capable of commanding zombies and building an undead army. Forget it, I better not save her. If I save her now, it'll be harder to explain later. That's right, this woman doesn't know me at all, hasn't seen me before, she doesn't know who I am, so it doesn't matter if I let her down. With this thought, Ji Ruxue nodded decisively. Looking at Zhao Lin below, Ji Ruxue sighed helplessly. Blame your own bad luck. Besides, you have 9 lives. Even if you die now, you can revive. It's just a bit of suffering. If I hadn't saved you back then, you might have lost this life. So now it's your turn to repay. Ji Ruxue's mind quickly shifted perspective in just an instant. From beginning to end, the one she wanted to protect was her father. As for the 9 Deaths Demon Police, this woman was all bust and no brains. In the early post-apocalypse, she would be tricked countless times. One more time wouldn't hurt. Downstairs, Zhao Lin was barely holding on, hoping for Ji Ruxue to help. But she didn't know she had already been abandoned by Ji Ruxue. Without Ji Ruxue's aid, Zhao Lin was left to be beaten by Lu Chuan alone. After suffering several more heavy blows from Lu Chuan, Zhao Lin collapsed to the ground, unable to get up. Lu Chuan walked over to Zhao Lin, lifting her up with one hand. Looking at the policewoman who caused him so much trouble, Lu Chuan's blood-red eyes gleamed with murderous intent. As Lu Chuan tightened his grip, Zhao Lin felt breathing became increasingly difficult. Her vision plunged into darkness, and she passed out. Invisible One, you're really useless. Looking at Zhao Lin, whom he had just choked unconscious, Lu Chuan mentally sneered. He had been holding back his anger all night, and now he finally vented it. Aren't you able to revive? This time I won't kill you. I want to see how you'll revive. Lu Chuan always liked to eliminate threats completely, but the situation with this woman was completely different. Lu Chuan remembered clearly. He had previously smashed this woman to a pulp with a giant hammer, breaking her bones to pieces. Yet, despite this, she was somehow able to revive. Not only did she appear lively in front of him, but her combat power had inexplicably increased several times. Learning from past lessons, Lu Chuan wasn't planning to let Zhao Lin die this time. He threw Zhao Lin's unconscious body to the ground, then instructed Depang to come over and swing a large hammer at Zhao Lin's legs. Crack! With a loud sound, Zhao Lin's legs were instantly broken. Ah! The next second, a scream like that of a slaughtered pig echoed between the buildings. Zhao Lin's voice was particularly piercing in the dead of night. The excruciating pain from her legs being forcibly broken awakened Zhao Lin from her oxygen-deprived stupor. But the agony from her broken legs surged to her heart in the next moment, once again forcing Zhao Lin into unconsciousness. Before passing out, her mind was filled with thoughts of Ji Ruxue. You damn invisible, you've really screwed me over this time. Don't let me find you, or I won't let you off. But at this point, Zhao Lin felt like crying because she realized she had never actually seen the other person's face. She couldn't even hold a grudge against the invisible in her mind because she didn't know what they looked like. When Lu Chuan lifted Zhao Lin again, he found that she had once more fainted from the pain, but 2 streams of tears had rolled down from the corners of her eyes. Did this woman cry from the pain? Seeing Zhao Lin in such a miserable state, Lu Chuan felt not an ounce of pity, his eyes still full of indifference. Today this woman almost killed him and even threatened the safety of little Chi-Chi. If he could kill her, he would have already hacked her to pieces in anger. Lu Chuan disliked letting danger linger beyond his control, so he planned to keep this policewoman alive, treating her like a caged dog if necessary. This woman's ability to grow stronger upon revival made Lu Chuan somewhat uneasy. The best response was to keep her under his watchful eyes, always under his control. Anyway, now that Zhao Lin's legs were broken, Lu Chuan didn't believe she could stir up any more trouble. As long as he didn't let the policewoman die, she couldn't revive and retaliate against him. Then Lu Chuan picked up an iron chain from in front of building number 5, originally used to lock the unit door, perfect now for binding Zhao Lin. Ji Ruxue watched all this unfold through the balcony on the 2nd floor. She hadn't expected her gentle and caring father to have such a ruthless side, but seeing her father acting so decisively, Ji Ruxue felt not repulsed, but rather delighted. In this apocalyptic world, kindness would only lead to one's own demise. Ji Ruxue had experienced countless killings amid her journey to becoming the human queen in her previous life. Being betrayed by those around her was even more common, so Ji Ruxue had long understood that to survive in this world, one must become cold and ruthless. Initially, Ji Ruxue had been concerned that her zombie father, retaining human consciousness, might struggle to survive after the apocalypse, due to his gentle demeanor towards her. But now Ji Ruxue was completely at ease, realizing her father was far more resolute than she had imagined. This time, Dad didn't kill the enemy, only broke her legs. Seems he already understood the 9 Deaths Demon Police's power to become stronger upon revival. Ji Ruxue nodded in admiration, a faint smile unconsciously appearing on her lips. To Ji Ruxue, the dumber the Corpse King was, the happier she would be, as such an existence would pose a significant threat to humanity. But if the Corpse King was her father, Ji Ruxue only wished for him to be as smart as possible. After all, surviving the apocalypse wasn't easy. Given the current situation, having this 9 Deaths Demon Police in her father's hands was the best outcome. Though this woman was easily deceived, she wasn't exactly a fool. Now that she knew about the Corpse King in Sunshine District, she must not be allowed to leave. If her knowledge leaked, it would put her father at great risk. The Corpse King was extremely dangerous for humanity. However, the combat power of the Corpse King itself wasn't strong, and if targeted by a human evolver, it might easily fall into danger. Facing a Corpse King, humanity's main problem was being unable to locate it and identifying which among the horde was the king. Thus, the Corpse King blending in with the hordes without standing out was the best concealment. The current issue was that Zhao Lin already knew about the Corpse King's existence in the Sunshine District. If she escaped and exposed this to the survivor base, it would pose great danger to her father. Knowing the 9 Deaths Demon Police's initial mentality, she was confident that if the enemy could leave, whether out of revenge against the Corpse King or some inner sense of justice, the 9 Deaths Demon Police would find countless ways to carry out an assassination plan against the Corpse King. Her father's strategy of crippling the enemy's legs to restrict her movements was undoubtedly the best solution. As for whether Zhao Lin felt pain because of this, Ji Ruxue didn't care in the slightest. Initially, she had intended to ally with the 9 Deaths Demon Police mainly because she thought her father was too weak and wanted to rely on the police's strength to protect him. In Ji Ruxue's heart, her father was always the most important. Even if the 9 Deaths Demon Police were a future human powerhouse and might be a useful ally if subdued, to Ji Ruxue, they were still not as important as her father. Her father's identity as the Corpse King must never be revealed, at least not yet, unless in the future her father or she became strong enough to withstand an attack from human evolvers without fear. Presently, she and her father still needed to keep a low profile and live cautiously. Ji Ruxue is still very confident about the future direction. She has memories of her past life. With the cultivation technique, humans only researched at the late stage of the apocalypse. She even became a dual talent holder after rebirth, and both are exceptionally top-notch talent abilities. Ji Ruxue believes she will surely surpass the achievements of her previous life. Don't worry, Dad. Once I grow up, no one will be able to hurt you. After the apocalypse, fists are the hard truth. As long as one has sufficiently strong strength, even black can be said as white. This is the principle Ji Ruxue summarized through experience in her past life. What does it matter if it's the Corpse King? What does it matter if humans criticize her? As long as she possesses mighty strength. Even if Dad's identity as the Corpse King is exposed, she can still protect him completely. At this moment, the battle below is nearing its end. Seeing Dad has captured the 9 Deaths Demon Police, Ji Ruxue rushed downstairs and ran towards home. After all, if Dad finds out she's not home, it would be bad. Now is not the time to expose herself. But because of her plan, a large number of zombies gathered under Building 5. To protect the safety of Building 5, Chuan actually gathered all the zombies in the entire community. Ji Ruxue could only helplessly run to Building 4, then all the way to the rooftop. Now she can't go downstairs. She can only think of a way to move from above. Building 4 is the closest building to Building 5, which can save her maximum telekinesis power. Feeling the cool breeze blowing around, Ji Ruxue took a deep breath and then operated her telekinesis to lift herself up. The next second, this petite body of Ji Ruxue directly floated into the air, successfully reaching the rooftop of Building 5 without being discovered by other zombies. Ji Ruxue patted her chest, a hint of smugness flashing in her eyes. It seems rebirth as a baby has its benefits. Her body weight is much lighter than when she was an adult. Just breaking through to the second stage, she already has a certain sky-controlling power. After a successful landing, Ji Ruxue didn't dare to delay, afraid of being discovered by Dad. She quickly returned to the bedroom on the 7th floor from the rooftop of Building 5. Cautiously returning to the room, Ji Ruxue directly closed the bedroom door pretending to sleep. After dealing with Zhao Lin, Chuan rapidly deployed the corpse puppet to patrol the surroundings of the neighborhood. Although he doesn't know why the evolver who could restrict his actions stopped fighting later, Chuan will not give up looking for the opponent. With such an evolver awakened with a peculiar ability around, he has to sleep with one eye open. Even time can be controlled. Can this world awaken even more heaven-defying talents? However, Chuan also doesn't know if the opponent has already left or is just hiding too well. He dispatched a large number of corpse puppets to meticulously search the surroundings, but couldn't find the opponent's trace. You'd better keep hiding and not be found by me. Otherwise, I'll definitely make you understand the cost of angering me. Chuan's eyes flashed scarlet in the dark night, looking extremely terrifying. Tonight's 2 evolvers have thoroughly touched his reverse scale. Given the opportunity, he would definitely root them out. Glancing at the female officer who had fainted from pain at his feet, Chuan controlled Lightning 1 to carry her directly to the 6th floor of Building 5. At present, Zhao Lin's legs have been smashed by the pang, rendering him almost powerless to resist. Even moving is problematic. Just looking at the female officer lying in the corner, Lu Chuan still felt uneasy. This person is too difficult to deal with. Such talent ability, full health resurrection upon death, compounded by enhanced strength, is simply like an unbeatable cheat. Lu Chuan thought for a while and then tied the officer's hands. After all, if she wakes up and commits suicide upon resurrection, she might come looking for him again. To be extra cautious, Lu Chuan also assigned Lightning One to specifically watch her. If there's any unusual movement from this woman, he could know the situation firsthand. After completing all this, Lu Chuan could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Tiptoeing back to the 7th floor, he pushed open the door and saw little Chi-Chi sleeping soundly on the bed, and Lu Chuan finally showed a smile on his face. Little one, as long as you can grow healthily, even if it costs Dad's life, it's worth it. Seeing little Chi-Chi's blanket uncovered, Lu Chuan carefully stepped forward to cover the little one with the blanket, then gently closed the door, feared disturbing little Chi-Chi's sleep. When the door closed, Ji Ruxue opened her eyes. Her pure and bright eyes carried extremely complex emotions beyond her age. Dad is still the same as before, so gentle and caring towards her. No matter that he's the Corpse King, as long as Dad loves her, he will forever be her closest person. Thinking of this, a hint of a smile flashed across Ji Ruxue's face. I never thought I'd guess for so long what Dad's awakened evolutionary ability is. You didn't think of him being the Corpse King. Originally, I believed Dad was an ordinary zombie, likely becoming cannon fodder after the apocalypse. Now, I don't need to worry about this issue anymore. Ji Ruxue couldn't help but recall those powerful Corpse Kings she saw in her past life, each incredibly cunning and extremely afraid of death. Beside the Corpse King, there are usually clusters of evolved zombies protecting them, fearing even the slightest danger. Yet until now, there hasn't been another zombie besides Dad approaching her. Ji Ruxue understood, well, this is due to Dad's preserved human consciousness leading all this. Dad wishes for her to grow up healthy and happily, hence doesn't want other zombies approaching her, affecting her. Thinking of this, Ji Ruxue felt increasingly touched. This feeling of being cherished is something she never experienced in her past life. For Ji Ruxue, she struggled amidst water and fire in her past life, constantly fighting on life and death lines. In the apocalypse, walking alone without betrayal or being framed is already considered a great joy. This precious familial affection made Ji Ruxue cherish it even more. Don't worry, Dad. You are not alone now. You still have me by your side. From now onwards, I will be your strongest bodyguard. After resolving tonight's crisis, Lu Chuan finally sat on the sofa to rest. Leaning against the back of the sofa, Lu Chuan closed his eyes and pondered, feeling a wave of exhaustion inside. Although he had now become a zombie and could hardly feel fatigue or pain physically, to deal with the female cop who could continually resurrect, he had controlled a large number of zombies to fight together tonight, consuming a great deal of his spiritual power. Even as a zombie now, Lu Chuan still felt tired and wanted to rest a bit. Though tonight's events were somewhat tortuous and cost much of his energy, he finally managed to capture this troublesome female cop who could also resurrect. For now, it was considered removing a major threat to his heart. Yet what puzzled Lu Chuan was exactly what is in this Sunshine District. It's just such a dilapidated, old neighborhood. Yet 2 evolvers are eyeing this place? Lu Chuan rubbed his temples, a subconscious motion he used in his previous life after working overtime to relieve fatigue. Although he had now become a zombie, this action still brought him some mental comfort. I just don't get it. One can resurrect after dying and their power increases several folds. The other can secretly restrict people's actions. The abilities of these 2 guys are astronomical. Instead of taking advantage of the chaos to make a name for themselves, why do they insist on opposing my Sunshine District? Could it be they're specifically targeting me? I shouldn't have been exposed. Lu Chuan frowned, unable to figure it out at the moment. He was quite worried about the evolver who hadn't shown up, despite him searching extensively, yet finding nothing. That guy didn't even need to show up to be able to restrict Chuan's actions. If it weren't for the fact that the other party kept intervening, this female cop would have been captured long ago, without wasting so much time and effort. Fortunately, it seems that the evolver lurking in the shadows has a limited number of uses for their ability. If his ability could be used indefinitely, I would have had no chance of winning tonight. Chuan recalled that towards the end of the battle tonight, that peculiar force restricting him finally disappeared. Most likely, that evolver had reached the limit of his power, unable to continuously exert it. At least in Chuan's view, it made no sense for these human evolvers to have been ready to cooperate, only to abandon their partners when success was near. Isn't that too outrageous? Reflecting on tonight's battle, a vague sense of worry crept into Chuan's heart. It seems I must quickly gain control of a stronger second-tier combat-type zombie. Otherwise, these human survivors will only grow stronger and become increasingly troublesome. Currently, it takes 3 of his first-tier evolved zombies together just to restrain the female cop, clearly showing that their power is nearing its limit. Gaining control of a second-tier combat-type zombie is imperative. With sufficient strength, he could live in this post-apocalyptic world with peace of mind. The next morning, after a night of struggle, Zhao Lin gradually regained consciousness. Looking at the somewhat unfamiliar environment, Zhao Lin's mind was muddled. What's going on? Did I not die? SSSS. Just as her consciousness returned, a sharp pain suddenly struck Zhao Lin. She quickly looked down and realized that her legs had been smashed, still oozing blood. The once graceful, well-proportioned legs were now a bloody mess, and glancing down at them sent a shiver through her spine, forcing her to quickly look away. Such a gory sight, even she dared not stare directly. Meanwhile, after being treated as a punching bag by the zombies last night, Zhao Lin felt like her whole body was falling apart, aside from her legs. Everywhere Chuan had struck her was either fractured or bruised. Damn invisible! Just when the plan was about to succeed, and it still failed. We agreed to kill the Corpse King together, yet you left me alone at the foot of the building. You bastard! This time Zhao Lin truly understood the fear of facing enemies like gods and allies like pigs, encouraging her to charge into the zombie horde, yet abandoning her immediately after. Marvelous, truly marvelous. Damn invisible. You'd better hope I don't meet you again. If I do, Zhao Lin was suddenly stunned, realizing she didn't even know what the other person looked like, losing even the chance for revenge. After venting her anger, Zhao Lin, enduring tremendous pain, began to survey her surroundings. With one glance, she saw the evolved zombie standing at the door, staring intently at her. The sight of the agile-type evolved zombie, caught off guard, startled Zhao Lin. Though the figure appeared thin, standing there dumbly, without moving, Zhao Lin dared not underestimate him. She had witnessed this creature's ferocity the previous night, slashing wildly with dual blades, showing formidable combat prowess. This evolved zombie just keeps staring at me without doing anything. Could it be controlled by the Corpse King? Zhao Lin frowned. Am I now in the hands of that Corpse King? Really strange. Having captured me, why not kill me? Zhao Lin felt deeply puzzled, believing zombies to be a bloodthirsty monster focused solely on slaughter. Yet, they captured her without taking any further action, which was indeed abnormal. It can't be that the zombie noticed I can revive, so deliberately chose not to kill me. At this suspicion, Zhao Lin's pupils contracted, her eyes flashing with profound horror. That can't be, if this is true, that zombies' intelligence is way too high. Since the apocalypse began, Zhao Lin had never seen a zombie with intelligence. The Corpse King now had her limbs tied, and if this was to prevent her from committing suicide and reviving, that level of intelligence is too exaggerated. Zhao Lin soon examined the room she was currently in and found it filled with infant supplies. Milk powder, diapers, baby clothes, even books and toys. One might mistake this place for a warehouse of an infant supply store. The sheer amount of baby supplies utterly confused Zhao Lin, as this room looked nothing like a place where a corpse king would reside. Even stacking milk powder and diapers into mountains. What exactly is this corpse king planning? Zhao Lin had only heard of zombies devouring human flesh, but she'd never heard of one needing milk. She truly could not understand what was going on in this Sunshine District. Not only was there a corpse king capable of controlling other zombies, but its manner was also so bizarre. On the other side, Chuan had already learned that Zhao Lin had awakened through the perspective of Lightning One. Looking at the woman before him, Chuan frowned. This resurrectable policewoman had caused him quite a bit of trouble lately, and Chuan had no goodwill toward her. If it weren't for her unique resurrection ability, Chuan would have made sure she was as dead as could be. Seeing Zhao Lin awaken and examine her surroundings, Chuan closely monitored her actions through Lightning One. This woman was both dangerous and troublesome, and most critical of all, dealing with her was extremely tricky. He had already crippled her legs, making her unable to stir up much trouble within Building 5. However, Chuan was most concerned about the possibility of the policewoman suddenly committing suicide. What if she resurrected and her power increased once again? That would be a huge problem for him. Damn it! How can there be such an abnormal power that resurrects and strengthens? Isn't this woman practically carrying a cheat code? Chuan was truly bewildered by this world he had come to. Is there anything left that won't happen? They say birth, aging, sickness, and death are unavoidable events. Yet this person could be crushed to pulp and still resurrect. Is there any justice in this? Chuan remembered the first time he encountered the policewoman when Depang killed her with a casual blow, only for her to resurrect that night and be able to contend with an evolved zombie. For safety's sake, he had smashed all her bones to bits, but even then, she could resurrect completely unscathed, with combat power multiplying. Originally, Chuan thought the emergence of zombies in this world was already defying reason. But compared to the woman before him, zombies seemed perfectly reasonable. The most troublesome part for Chuan was figuring out how to deal with this woman. He couldn't release her and couldn't kill her. Even though he had currently broken her legs, restricting her mobility, who could guarantee that she wouldn't simply commit suicide swiftly? Extinguishing her suicidal thoughts wouldn't be that easy. If she truly resolved to die, Chuan might have a hard time stopping her. Based on the multitude of TV shows and movies he'd seen in his previous life, Chuan could easily summarize dozens of suicide methods. Damn, this woman is troublesome. Why did I have to encounter her? The more he thought about it, the more irritated Chuan became, unable to resist rubbing his increasingly full head of hair. Suddenly, Chuan's eyes lit up, and he smirked coldly. Got it. Aren't you quite the altruist? I'll satisfy your world-saving sense of justice. Let's see if you can keep on being so self-sacrificing. Stopping someone from committing suicide forcefully is exceedingly difficult. To truly prevent her, he could only completely quash the policewoman's notion of suicide. Chuan picked up the paper and pen used by little Chi-Chi for practice and started writing awkwardly. Dad, what are you doing? Curious, Ji Rushue, who was holding her milk bottle drinking, came closer upon seeing this scene. Written crookedly on the paper were the words, "Live well. If you die, everyone at the police station will be buried with you." Ji Rushue immediately realized this was intended for that 9 Deaths Demon police. Thinking for a moment, Ji Rushue understood Chuan's intention. Dad knows that the 9 Deaths Demon realm has the resurrection ability, so he's worried they'll choose suicide and further trouble him. He intends to use the lives of the people at the police station to completely extinguish the 9 Deaths Demon realm's thoughts of suicide. Ji Rushue couldn't help but smile secretly to herself. This method might not have any effect on others, who might even find the threat ridiculous. But for the 9 Deaths Demon police, who was highly responsible before the apocalypse, this method might indeed work. Currently, the 9 Deaths Demon police in the early apocalypse is still at a stage where they believe in kindness, beauty, and willingness to sacrifice for others' lives. On the 6th floor, after waking up, Zhao Lin glanced around her surroundings and caught her breath to regain some strength. Looking at Lightning One, standing motionlessly at the door, Zhao Lin tried to move slightly, seeking a better angle to relax her limbs. Her hands and feet were bound, unable to move or do anything. Zhao Lin shifted her body slightly, attempting to free the chains on her hands by finding a spot to unchain them. But the next second, a whizzing sound came, and a steel knife was suddenly poised at her neck. Zhao Lin's body quivered, looking back to see Lightning One at the door. So this thing's been watching me all along. But staring at the steel knife at her neck, Zhao Lin coldly smirked, showing no fear at all. Her legs were already crippled. Unable to move or fight, she might as well end it all. The key thing was that Zhao Lin had figured out she possessed the skill to resurrect. At worst, she could let the zombie kill her, and upon resurrection, her legs would be restored, leaving her the ability to fight these zombies. Clearly, Chuan wasn't about to let that happen. Then Zhao Lin heard footsteps and saw the highly human-like zombie she encountered last night, possessing great combat skills, walk in. Isn't this the Invisible's relative? What's he coming to me for? Zhao Lin frowned, recognizing Chuan before her. This was the zombie who repeatedly stopped her from acting yesterday, resulting in her being treated like a punching bag on the ground. Last night, this guy broke several of her ribs, making it painful to breathe now. Zhao Lin turned her head away, unwilling to look at Chuan. But Chuan approached her, handing her a sheet of paper. Zhao Lin looked up puzzled, and upon seeing the message on the paper, she was suddenly furious. Damn Corpse King! Such despicable and shamelessness. The Invisible was right. These Corpse Kings are indeed a group of deceitful scoundrels. After being threatened by Chuan, Zhao Lin felt both shocked and angry. She widened her eyes, filled with fury. However, after tossing the note to her, Chuan turned and left. He believed that with this saintly lady cop's temperament, in order to protect the lives of the survivors in the police station, she definitely wouldn't attempt suicide anymore. Zhao Lin was trembling with anger. She never expected this Corpse King to be so despicable, to threaten the survivors in the police station to prevent her from committing suicide. At the same time, she was deeply shocked, despite knowing from the Invisible that Corpse Kings usually possess very high intelligence. But today she experienced firsthand that this Corpse King not only recognized her ability to resurrect, but even resorted to threatening the survivors to stop her from resurrecting. Zhao Lin seriously doubted, is this really something a bloodthirsty zombie could do? Probably only humans adept at plotting and scheming could accomplish this. Though Zhao Lin was very reluctant to agree with the other party, thinking about the innocent survivors in the police station, she could only compromise with resignation. Before the apocalypse, as a police officer, Zhao Lin's duty was to protect the lives and property of the citizens. Zhao Lin could sacrifice herself without hesitance to save others, but could never cause someone to lose their life because of her. Guided by her own values, Zhao Lin wouldn't allow her personal issues to harm others or the innocent survivors. The police station now was not like the initial phase of the apocalypse, with ample resources, numerous manpower, and plenty of ammunition. After more than 2 months of living in the apocalypse, the police station's combat strength was not like before, with barely a few officers left. Zhao Lin was crystal clear that now she is the only evolver in the entire police station. In this constantly changing apocalypse, ordinary people find it increasingly difficult to survive. If the police station loses her protection, should the Corpse King indeed make a move on the survivors, they are doomed. Looking at the handwriting on the note, Zhao Lin felt endlessly ironic. Absolutely unbelievable. She was actually captured by a zombie and even threatened by it. Zhao Lin turned her head to glare at the Lightning One standing at the door, viciously saying, "You better not harm them, or I'll show you my death." Seeing Lightning One remain unmoved, Zhao Lin then looked around and shouted at the top of her lungs, "Corpse King, I know you can hear me. I warn you not to hurt them. Dare hurt others. I'll show you my death." Shouting frantically at her surroundings, but receiving no response, Zhao Lin could only brood alone on the 6th floor. Returning to the 7th floor living room, Chuan, upon hearing the sound from downstairs, couldn't help but show a peculiar expression. Show me your death? This is indeed a terrifying threat. Chuan remembered the last time he heard such words were in a melodramatic love-hate plot, where the heroine used it to threaten the hero. Using suicide as a threat, how terrifying. Chuan smirked internally. Hearing Zhao Lin say this, he knew this woman wouldn't easily commit suicide. Indeed, dealing with a saint requires such an approach to be most effective. Beside him, Ji Ruxue naturally also heard Zhao Lin's voice. Seems like Daddy has confined her on the 6th floor. Maybe if I get a chance I can go and see her. After all, if it weren't for me inviting her to Sunshine District, maybe this 9 Deaths Demon Police wouldn't have ended up like this. Ji Ruxue felt somewhat embarrassed when recalling this. This 9 Deaths Demon Police was indeed a formidable figure among humans. Yet because of her, now captured by Zombie Daddy. Even her legs were smashed, unable to die or escape. Truly a pitiful sight. If not for her sudden betrayal last night, she wouldn't have ended up like this. Thinking back to last night's scene of Zhao Lin being surrounded and beaten by zombies, Ji Ruxue's face couldn't help but blush. I never thought Ji Ruxue, would pull such a joke. Well, anyway, the identity of the invisible no longer exists from now on. She planned to find a chance to visit Zhao Lin downstairs. In Ji Ruxue's heart, she always wanted to recruit this 9 Deaths Demon Police. After all, she's a formidable foe who survived the human's late stage. If 9 Deaths Demon Police's mind wasn't so flawed, wasting too many resurrection opportunities early, she actually had a great chance to break through to the Emperor realm. Even looking across the apocalypse, evolvers with such heaven-defying abilities are rare. If she could really recruit such a powerful evolver, the difficulty of future apocalypse life would greatly decrease. Most importantly, now during the apocalypse's early stage, this 9 Deaths Demon Police is naive and easily trusting. If she doesn't seize this opportunity, it will be hard to deal with this woman once she darkens. Thinking this, Ji Ruxue moved to Chuan's side, pretending ignorance, and innocently asked, "Daddy, I think I heard some sounds. What's the noise downstairs?" Hearing little Chi-Chi's innocent and cute voice, Chuan was slightly stunned. He couldn't help but turn his head, seeing little Chi-Chi's very pure and adorable appearance, with eyes pure and untainted by the world. Though apocalypse life is cruel, little Chi-Chi is still young. Chuan didn't want the child to have a harsh childhood. This world might not be so beautiful, could be very dark, but he was willing to be this dark person, blocking all dangers outside. Parental love is like a mountain. Since he considered little Chi-Chi as his daughter, he has the responsibility to provide her a wonderful world. Little Chi-Chi, as a newborn, came into this unfamiliar world already without parents, is very pitiable. Chuan didn't want the little one to bear more hardships. However, the female cop downstairs who can resurrect poses a great threat. He absolutely couldn't let her go. After some thinking, Chuan took the note and wrote on the paper, "That's a pet Daddy keeps." He couldn't release this woman now, nor could he kill her directly. She could only be kept in building number 5. As long as he's feeding her water and food regularly, keep her alive, it would be like keeping a pet in the building. This woman didn't know when she'd end up dead outside. At least here, she could stay alive. She should be thankful to him. Pet. Ji Ruxue heard Chuan's words and couldn't help but suppress a laugh inside. Never would she have thought that in her past life, the renowned and decisive 9 Deaths Demon Police was now being treated as a pet by her father. The 9 Deaths Demon Police was exceptionally beautiful and had an outstanding physique, along with strong combat prowess, making them a well-known existence in the apocalypse. After the fall into darkness, the 9 Deaths Demon Police's cold and decisive personality sparked a desire for conquest among many human evolvers, with many wanting to subdue her. But the fate of these people was without exception. Either they fled in disgrace or died at the hands of the 9 Deaths Demon Police. If the powerful humans of the past life knew the 9 Deaths Demon Police was being kept as a pet by her father, Their jaws would surely drop in astonishment. Jirushiwe was curious about what kind of shock her father would show if he learned of the 9 Deaths Demon Police's past identity and status. Yet, Chuan wasn't thinking so much at the moment. After hearing what Zhao Lin said earlier, Chuan knew that this woman had already compromised, which made him sigh in relief. This woman, who could resurrect, was like a ticking time bomb in the community if she couldn't let go of her suicidal intentions. If she ever decided to commit suicide on a whim, upon resurrection, she might crazily cause trouble for him. As expected, everyone has weaknesses. Once you see someone's weakness, you can easily control them. People like Zhao Lin, who have a saint-like nature, are the easiest to deal with in the apocalypse. Chuan didn't think there was anything wrong with using others' lives as leverage. Doing whatever it takes to survive the apocalypse is a necessary skill. People like Zhao Lin, who are willing to sacrifice themselves for strangers, are truly peculiar. Were it not for her resurrection ability, she'd have died long ago. However, Chuan also knew he was not invincible and had his own weaknesses too. Chuan turned to look at little Chi-Chi, who was holding a bottle and drinking milk. Her adorable appearance made him feel tender affection. Though this world was very unfamiliar to him, with no sense of attachment at all. But now, with little Chi-Chi in his life, Chuan knew he had his reverse scale and attachment. He absolutely would not allow any existence to threaten little Chi-Chi's safety. Hey, Corpse King, can you hear me? I'm hungry, I want to eat. Can you give me something to eat? You're so afraid of me dying, you surely wouldn't want me to starve to death directly. Zhao Lin looked around in frustration. Her stomach was already growling loudly with hunger. Since yesterday, she hadn't eaten, and all the hard-earned, sparse supplies she had collected were basically given to the survivors at the police station. After going through a series of battles last night, her physical strength was greatly exhausted. Plus, being hit by Depang and having both legs broken, causing a lot of blood loss, she hadn't had a drop to drink for a long time, continuously depleting her energy. Even as a second-level evolver, Zhao Lin was struggling. Chuan looked at Zhao Lin's complexion. As it turned out, this woman already had a bloodless face, and her lips were somewhat dry and pale. The 6th floor only had some baby supplies, so Chuan controlled Lightning One to carry the policewoman away. Upon opening the door on the 5th floor, Zhao Lin's eyes widened immediately. She originally thought the stockpile of supplies on the 6th floor was outrageous, but never expected the 5th floor to also be filled with all kinds of living supplies. The room was stacked high with bottled water and infant formula. 50-pound bags of rice were piled to the ceiling. There were all sorts of breads, biscuits, noodles, etc., foods with longer shelf lives. Seeing these foods, Zhao Lin's eyes became a bit dazed, even sparkling with a burst of bright light. My heavens, in the 2 months she had spent in the apocalypse, when had she seen so many resources? Did this Corpse King collect all the supplies from the surrounding areas and brought them here? Surely the entire building couldn't be filled with supplies, right? Zhao Lin almost wanted to cry, but had no tears because she hadn't eaten a single full meal in these past 2 months. Just looking at all this food made her drool. Thinking of this made Zhao Lin grit her teeth. No wonder she couldn't gather any supplies from outside. Everything had been moved here by the Corpse King. In these 2 months, she couldn't even bring herself to swallow a mouthful of water. Living frugally every day, what kind of hellish days were those? But then Zhao Lin furrowed her brow and felt puzzled. Why would the Corpse King collect so much human supplies? A bunch of bloodthirsty monsters don't need to eat these things. Surely it's not to force human survivors to venture out in search of food, right? Apart from that, Zhao Lin really couldn't think of any other possibility. Chuan controlled Lightning One and just tossed Zhao Lin onto the ground, making Zhao Lin grimace in pain and continuously gasp. Damn Corpse King, I won't let you get away with this. I advise you to treat me gently. If you mess me up, don't blame me. But before Zhao Lin could finish her sentence, Lightning One tossed 2 breads and a bottle of mineral water in her lap. There was even a piece of dried beef jerky among them. Zhao Lin's eyes widened like light bulbs. Then Zhao Lin stopped caring and directly tore open the packages, eating vigorously. Zhao Lin began to feast, a mouthful of bread and a mouthful of water. This feeling of substantial food in her stomach was something she had not experienced before. The wheat scent emanating from the bread made her feel like her bones were softening. As the apocalypse progressed, resources were becoming more and more scarce. Upholding a self-sacrificing attitude, Zhao Lin had distributed most of the supplies she collected to the survivors, keeping only a small portion for herself. Consequently, Zhao Lin later relied only on sips of drinking water, her stomach growling with hunger every day. Now, this feeling of eating till she was full made her feel completely satisfied, especially when she tore open the packaging and gnawed on the beef jerky. Zhao Lin's eyes even welled up with tears. So this is the taste of meat. How wonderful. I already forgot how long it's been since I felt so full. Staying here like this every day really doesn't seem so bad. Suddenly, Zhao Lin shook her head vigorously. What am I thinking? Everyone is waiting for me to lead them to the base. How can I be so selfish and indulge here? But when Zhao Lin looked down and saw her own broken legs, she immediately became downcast again. Now with my legs crippled and unable to commit suicide to resurrect, what can I do? Zhao Lin's eyes lit up as she suddenly remembered someone, the Invisible, whom she had never met. Though she was tricked by the Invisible this time, Zhao Lin still held hope. Since the Invisible wants to get rid of the Corpse King, she shouldn't give up easily. With her strong power, she surely can save me. Invisible, I don't blame you for tricking me. Just hurry up and save me. Thinking of this, Zhao Lin took a ruthless bite of the bread. So good. After dealing with Zhao Lin's matter, Chuan stayed inside Building 5 for the next 2 days. Although he had managed to deal with the tricky policewoman who could revive, her evolver companion did not show up at all. Even if the opponent was hidden in the dark, they could restrict his movements. This peculiar ability made Chuan very apprehensive. This guy never showed up. In Chuan's eyes, it was like a time bomb lurking in the dark, making him not dare to relax for a moment. During these 2 days, Chuan retracted all his corpse puppets within the scope of Sunshine District. After all, Chuan didn't know if this evolver would launch a surprise attack on him. So to ensure little Chi-Chi wasn't threatened, Chuan had to ensure that Sunshine District had enough defensive power. At the same time, Chuan controlled the corpse puppets to patrol inside and outside the district relentlessly, attempting to find traces of that evolver. But in these 2 days, he hadn't found any trace, and the evolver remained still. Only then did Chuan start dispatching corpse puppets to search for traces of others evolving. However, to be cautious, Chuan kept all the 3-headed evolved zombies he was controlling currently in Building 5. The evolver hidden in the dark seemed far more difficult to deal with than the policewoman, in Chuan's eyes. Although the policewoman who could revive had quite the extraordinary talent, her mind wasn't functioning well, plus she was rather naive, allowing Chuan to easily control her. But that evolver, who could limit his movement capabilities, seemed to be the real hidden threat in Chuan's eyes. Not only was their ability outstanding, able to pose a significant threat, but the key point was their intelligence seemed to be on a vastly different level from the policewoman. After so much time, he couldn't even find where they might be lurking. Depeng, as usual, wielded dual hammers, guarding the entrance of Building 5 like a gate god. Those corpse puppets equipped with firearms were also left behind by Chuan this time, similarly guarding the entrance of Building 5. The strength of hot weapons was indeed quite considerable. Even evolvers had to be cautious of them. As for Lightning One, Chuan arranged to closely monitor Zhao Lin. Although the policewoman seemed to have given up the thought of suicide at the moment. Who knows if she might suddenly come around one day? If she suddenly decided to commit suicide after realizing something, it would be troublesome. Currently, to prevent any unexpected incidents, Chuan even chose to only hone his combat skills indoors. After all, it was clear now that there was a very powerful evolver nearby his district, always watching him. Chuan worried that if he trained outdoors, the opponent might discover he was the Corpse King. With Lightning 2, he came to the 4th floor, cleared an area in the living room, and then gave the command to attack. Zombie 2 immediately charged toward Lu Chuan. Its actions were very swift, yet for Lu Chuan at that moment, they were full of flaws. Lu Chuan did not rush to attack, but kept dodging. Although Lightning 2 was agile, at present, Lu Chuan's combat skills were very high, merely relying on dodging, leaving Lightning 2 helpless. A faint smile curled at the corner of Lu Chuan's mouth. This battle with the policewoman had significantly improved his combat skills. Whether it was bodily coordination, agility, reflexes, or judgment of attacks, all had markedly improved. The swift zombie that Lu Chuan once could barely withstand in the past was now being toyed with in a one-on-one fight. Lu Chuan's footwork was incredibly nimble, complemented by his body's evolution after absorbing crystal cores, resembling a martial arts master. In the narrow space of the 4th floor living room, he could execute various daring dodge moves. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The agile zombie's attack speed was getting faster, yet Lu Chuan remained calm. Now, Lu Chuan excelled in timing his strikes and controlling the distance between the opponent during the fight. Watching the zombie persistently pressing toward him, Lu Chuan merely lifted his leg to intercept, landing a direct kick on the zombie's thigh. While controlling the distance between them, he made the zombie's steps somewhat unstable. Then, Lu Chuan quickly moved, like lightning, grasped Lightning 2's wrist, and then violently threw it backward, directly causing it to lay solidly on the ground. Lu Chuan continued to control Lightning 2 to attack him, but as his combat skills became more proficient, whether it was throwing techniques, boxing, or kicking techniques, all had improved significantly. Lightning 2 became nothing more than a punching bag at Lu Chuan's mercy. Watching it get knocked down again by him, Lu Chuan nodded in satisfaction. From initially only being able to barely hold off the opponent to now being able to subdue Lightning 2 with one hand, his combat prowess has seen a tremendous leap forward in recent times. Meanwhile, Zhao Lin was leaning against a pile of rice in the 5th floor room. These food supplies scarce in the apocalypse had now become Zhao Lin's sofa. Crunch, crunch. After eating bread and beef jerky and drinking water, Zhao Lin searched the room and surprisingly found quite a bit of puffed food, like potato chips and shrimp sticks, etc. With the mindset of not dying hungry and wanting to eat the Corpse King out, Zhao Lin directly opened the packaging and started eating. Lazily basking in the sun outside the window, eating snacks only available before the apocalypse, without needing to collect resources to deal with crises that could happen anytime. At that moment, Zhao Lin felt as if she had returned to the time before the apocalypse. As a second-tier evolver, Zhao Lin had super recovery ability, and her originally broken legs didn't hurt as much anymore. At this time, the whole person was leaning on a sofa made of rice, feeling very comfortable. I never thought the happy life I'd lead after the apocalypse would be given by zombies. These tomato-flavored chips are delicious. But then Zhao Lin frowned, sighed helplessly. Since the apocalypse, she didn't know how long it had been since she lived like this. If it weren't for thinking about survivors outside, still waiting for rescue, she would like to stay here forever. In the 7th floor bedroom, Ji Rushue was getting quite bored alone. She wanted to go downstairs to see the 9 Deaths Demon Police locked up by Dad, but feared Dad, discovering she knew his secret. So boring. If it wasn't for messing around with the 9 Deaths Demon Police in that nonsensical Corpse King decapitation operation, Dad wouldn't be so sensitive now, not having gone out for 2 days. Reflecting on her previous behavior, Ji Rushue couldn't help but smile bitterly, feeling immensely foolish. When Lu Chuan finished training his combat skills and returned to the 7th floor, Ji Rushue's eyes lit up, rushing quickly over. Dad, it's so stuffy staying at home. I want to go downstairs to play. Want to go downstairs and play. Hearing little Chi-Chi's words, Lu Chuan couldn't help but hesitate a little. If it were before, Lu Chuan would have readily agreed to little Chi-Chi's request to go out. After all, a healthy, growing environment shouldn't just stay confined indoors. Even before these recent events, Chuan was already preparing to take little Chi-Chi out to experience the outside world. After being bathed in sunlight, one's mood would change. And although the world had become quite run down, Chuan had already cleaned up Sunshine District a bit, making it look less frightening. But things are different now. The female officer and that evolver lurking in the shadows came to Sunshine District to stir up trouble just days ago, and to Chuan, the surroundings still seemed very dangerous. The Sunshine District, originally under Chuan's control through evolved zombies, didn't seem as safe as imagined. The most critical thing is that Chuan has been dispatching corpse puppets to search nearby, but the evolver companion of the female officer still hasn't been found. Chuan still doesn't know what that hidden evolver looks like. He heavily suspects that the other party might still be hiding around the Sunshine District, maybe even still closely watching his Sunshine District. With such bizarre abilities, that evolver is even more dangerous than the female officer. If little Chi-Chi were exposed to their view, Chuan was very worried that the little one's safety would be compromised. He could threaten the female officer with the survivors at the police station to surrender, but Chuan couldn't guarantee that Hidden Evolver wouldn't use similar tactics against him. Resultantly, Chuan was very conflicted at this moment, as he didn't want little Chi-Chi to face the slightest harm. But seeing the little one's big, fluttering eyes looking at him, Chuan felt soft-hearted again. Taking a glance around the room, earlier to prevent that full blood-red zombie or monster from climbing in, the windows on the 7th floor were all reinforced with boards. The room indeed felt very oppressive and dark, which didn't seem suitable for infant development. Thinking that keeping little Chi-Chi locked in on the 7th floor didn't seem like a solution, considering the oppressiveness around, Chuan hesitated for a while before nodding in agreement. However, Chuan took the little one's paper and pen and wrote, "You can go out, but you must only stay within Building 5. The little one is still too young, and Chuan didn't want her exposed to enemy sights. But if it was just walking around inside the building, there shouldn't be an issue. With evolved zombies guarding inside the building and the concrete structure blocking the view, it would relatively be much safer." Rushu nodded obediently when she saw the words on the paper. "Don't worry, Dad. I won't run outside recklessly." Rushu knew her father was worried about her safety, especially since she and 9th Death's Demon Police pulled a stunt on her dad not long ago, leaving him likely still sensitive. "But Dad, you probably don't know, with my current strength, no one can harm me. And the upheaval in the district recently, I was actually the cause of it all." Rushu sighed helplessly to herself, thinking it was her rashness that triggered everything. If she had understood the situation instead of causing trouble initially, her father wouldn't be so tense now. Then Chuan led Rushu downstairs, carefully holding little Chi-Chi, fearing that she might stumble and fall. The little one might be a prodigy, speaking, writing, and walking much earlier than her peers. But she was still very young. If on flat ground it wouldn't be a problem, yet falling on the stairs was unimaginable for Chuan. So Chuan wouldn't dare let Rushu walk alone on the stairs like she did in the room. Thus, a zombie was leading a little girl, step by step, on the stairs, which looked somewhat odd. "Dad, I want to see your pet." Rushu looked up at Chuan, her pure and innocent eyes revealing a naive smile. Rushu was still curious to see how the 9 Death's Demon Police was doing now. As a formidable figure in the apocalypse, Rushu wanted to successfully recruit the 9 Death's Demon Police. However, Rushu still hadn't figured out how to tame this rather eccentric evolver. Although she retained some secret techniques from her past life, controlling life and death, Rushu knew Zhao Lin's personality wouldn't respond to that. So Rushu planned to bide her time, first getting in touch with Zhao Lin. Chuan was stunned hearing the little one's words. "There's no pet downstairs, only a living human." Was little Chi-Chi talking about that female officer? After a moment of thought, Chuan nodded, because either way, the female officer was at least a human being. Exposing the little one more to humans was not a bad thing. At least little Chi-Chi could communicate with humans normally, not like him, only expressing through writing. Thus, Chuan took little Chi-Chi to the 5th floor, where upon opening the door, Lightning One was still standing motionless like a bodyguard, closely monitoring Zhao Lin inside. Seeing this agile zombie controlled by her father, Ji Rushue feigned curiosity and asked, "Dad, who is this?" Chuan took out his paper and pen, writing, "This is Dad's friend." Taking the note, little Chi-Chi nodded respectfully. "Hello, Uncle." Zhao Lin, leaning on a rice bag inside, was awakened by Ji Rushue and Chuan's noise. "Am I hallucinating? Did I just hear someone talking?" Ji Rushue's innocent voice left Zhao Lin momentarily bewildered inside. And why does this voice sound familiar? Why does it feel somewhat recognizable? Upon waking, Zhao Lin instinctively looked towards the door, only to see an additional pair of figures apart from the evolved zombie watching her. The big figure was naturally the powerful zombie she had fought before. But upon seeing Ji Rushue's petite form held by Chuan, Zhao Lin's entire brain seemed to short-circuit. She stared at Ji Rushue in disbelief, her eyes widening, filled with shock. Isn't this the Corpse King's lair? Where did this little girl come from? Zhao Lin was dumbfounded. She had never imagined that in a zombie lair, she would see a living person, especially a girl. It had been over 2 months since the apocalypse began, and Zhao Lin had experienced countless life and death situations, encountering all kinds of terrifying zombies. She was well aware of the terrifying allure a living person holds for zombies. These bloodthirsty creatures would frantically tear a living person apart, having an almost insane craving for human flesh. In the early days of the apocalypse, the police station where Zhao Lin worked organized rescue efforts and other operations. However, they later discovered that these zombies were too terrifying and crazed, and the police force alone was entirely insufficient for conducting rescues. In the end, they were forced to retreat and defend within the station. During the subsequent period, the number of officers continued to dwindle due to frequent outings in search of food. These zombies have an extremely terrifying craving for fresh flesh. They are eager to devour it all. But Zhao Lin couldn't understand how, in such a terrifying zombie gathering point, there was such an adorable-looking human little girl. The girl in front of her, Ji Rushue, had fair and tender skin without a trace of dirt or dust. Even in the apocalypse, she remained spotless. She was wearing a pink princess dress, and her appearance was as cute as a porcelain doll. Her big, bright eyes exuded innocence and seemed capable of purifying the world. This clean and pure aura was something absent from the current apocalypse. In Zhao Lin's view, the little girl stood there looking out of place in the broken world. Zombies generally have altered pupils, either blood red or pure black. But the little girl's clear black and white eyes unmistakably marked her as human. What made Zhao Lin feel very strange was that such a pure and beautiful little girl held the hand of a zombie. What kind of combination was this? Zhao Lin glanced at Ji Rushue and then at Chuan beside her, feeling her head start to swim. How on earth did this little girl survive? Could these bloodthirsty zombies be restraining their longing for fresh flesh? Surely they're not planning to fatten her up before eating. That would be way too costly for a single meal. While Zhao Lin kept observing Ji Rushue was also observing her. Zhao Lin was bound with chains, which, although not completely immobilizing her, severely limited her movement. Crucially, her legs had been smashed by the evolved zombie, and she was now moving by crawling on the ground. Having been locked in this room for a long time, she looked utterly disheveled. Recalling the beautiful and stunning image of her in police uniform before, and then looking at her now, Ji Rushue felt a little guilty. If it weren't for the mistake I made putting this 9 Deaths demon police in this mess, she wouldn't be like this now. But despite the misery and pity, compared to this 9 Deaths demon police, my father's safety is more important. To prevent my father's identity as the Corpse King from being exposed, I can only temporarily wrong this 9 Deaths demon police. Anyway, with so much food on the 5th floor, this female cop won't starve to death. Ji Rushue had noticed numerous food wrappers around, indicating they were undoubtedly eaten by this female cop here. Though she looked pitiful, at least under Dad's control, she could feel her stomach. A young girl and woman silently exchanged glances. Then Ji Rushue was the first to break the silence. Looking at the once ferocious and ruthless 9 Deaths Demon Police, Ji Rushue's gaze carried a hint of mockery as she asked, "Are you the pet Dad keeps downstairs?" Ji Rushue's voice was incredibly pleasant. Zhao Lin hadn't heard such an innocent child's voice in ages. "Pet? Did you say I'm a pet?" Zhao Lin was originally marveling at Ji Rushue's cuteness, but the next second she heard herself called a pet, leaving her flabbergasted. How did a dignified police officer, and an evolver at that, suddenly become a pet? But soon Zhao Lin realized a more critical aspect in Ji Rushue's words. "Dad," frowning, Zhao Lin asked with some confusion, "Little one, who is your dad?" She couldn't comprehend that someone in these times would keep zombies near their daughter without fear of them eating her. What kind of father would do such a thing? His confidence in the zombies was misplaced. As a police officer, Zhao Lin had seen people who cherished their deceased family members in the apocalypse. Even when they become zombies, these people still treat them as if they were alive. Usually, those people face the consequences of their actions themselves. After all, a zombie is just a zombie, devoid of any emotions, merely a group of bloodthirsty creatures. Upon hearing Zhao Lin's words, Ji Rushue glanced at Lu Chuan beside her, but did not clarify their relationship directly. She only smiled innocently at Zhao Lin. "My dad is my dad." Listening to the little one's words, Lu Chuan couldn't help but praise internally. Little Chi-Chi is so smart, understanding the importance of guarding oneself at such a young age. "My girl is indeed a prodigy. Surely she has the potential to become an emperor." Zhao Lin now recognized Lu Chuan standing beside them. "Isn't this one of the evolved zombies under the Corpse King? And he's related to the Invisible. It's because of this guy that I was beat up by a group of zombies. So how is it that he looks so calm facing the little girl, yet so aggressive towards me?" This zombie-child pairing was totally baffling to Zhao Lin. Ji Rushue observed the now utterly disheveled policewoman before softly asking, "What's your name? Dad's pet?" In the past life, Ji Rushue met the 9 Deaths Demon Police during the later stages of the apocalypse. Back then, she had become cold and ruthless, and people only knew her by her title. No one knew her real name. "My name's Zhao Lin." Zhao Lin instinctively replied out of politeness. But then she quickly realized, "I am not a pet." "Zhao Lin, so your name is Zhao Lin. Judging by the uniform you're wearing, you must be a police officer, right?" Ji Rushue asked, pretending to be very naive. Seeing Ji Rushue looking so adorable at the moment, Zhao Lin lowered her guard. Perhaps it was the innate sense of duty as a police officer that made Zhao Lin feel a natural affinity towards Ji Rushue. Hearing Ji Rushue mention her occupation, Zhao Lin instantly puffed out her chest with pride. "Of course, as a police officer, I've saved many people after the apocalypse." Seeing Zhao Lin's proud expression, Ji Rushue shook her head inwardly, confirming that this 9 Deaths Demon Police was indeed as gullible as the rumors in the past life claimed. Zhao Lin was also scrutinizing Ji Rushue, wondering why there was a little girl among so many zombies. "Little sister, can you tell me your name? Where has your father gone?" Ji Rushue glanced at Zhao Lin and then chuckled lightly. "Daddy says my nickname is Little Chi-Chi. You can call me that too." After saying this, Ji Rushue just kept smiling foolishly at Zhao Lin, blocking out any other question she had. Zhao Lin had a lot more to ask, but seeing Ji Rushue keep smiling foolishly, Zhao Lin could only sigh helplessly. Zhao Lin assumed this little girl was innocent and cute due to her young age, not realizing that Ji Rushue housed the soul of an empress within her petite frame. "Little Chi-Chi, can you tell me why there's so many zombies here? And living here with your father, aren't you afraid zombies will harm you?" Thinking it over, Zhao Lin finally voiced her confusion. These zombies had tormented her enough, and she couldn't understand how the little girl managed to coexist peacefully with them. However, Shue simply ignored her words as if she hadn't heard them. This left Zhao Lin feeling quite helpless. Auntie, at your age, do you have kids too? Shue came over to Zhao Lin, tilted her head, and directly changed the topic. What did you say? At that moment, Zhao Lin was dumbfounded. She didn't expect such a sweet-looking girl to deliver such a blow with her words. What do you mean by saying I'm old? I'm only 24, okay? Little sister, don't you think you're being very presumptuous? Besides, I've always been single, haven't even dated, so where would I get kids? Zhao Lin was furious. Despite her current miserable state, she was a beauty of Jianghai City before the apocalypse. Chuan stood nearby, watching Zhao Lin chat enthusiastically with little Chi, and inwardly shook his head helplessly. This female officer was indeed as he had thought before, with large breasts and little brain. In just this moment, she had already leaked all her personal information. But Chuan also knew this was mostly because Zhao Lin hadn't put her guard up against little Chi. After all, they were merely chatting casually, and little Chi was just an ordinary little girl, so Zhao Lin naturally felt at ease speaking freely. Yet she would never have imagined that not only did Chuan retain human consciousness, he could understand their conversation. Chuan once again admired his daughter's intelligence. Throughout the conversation, little Chi had only revealed her nickname. If one didn't know better, they'd probably think little Chi was the police officer. Despite the generational gap between these two women, they managed to chat happily, which was surprising to Chuan. Perhaps this was just a talent women have. Seeing little Chi seemed interested in Zhao Lin, Chuan let her stay. After all, having a human to communicate with was crucial for building little Chi-Chi's language skills and preventing isolation. He had abruptly arrived in this world, only to become a zombie on the same day. During all this time, Chuan deeply understood what loneliness meant. Although there were plenty of humans in this world, they wouldn't communicate with him, a zombie. Those zombies knew nothing but bloodlust and slaughter. Chuan had enough of the feeling of having no one to talk to. And as a zombie with human consciousness, but unable to communicate, wasn't that similar to little Chi-Chi's situation now? Little Chi-Chi was human, but surrounded by zombies incapable of communication. Chuan didn't want the same thing to happen to little Chi-Chi. With Zhao Lin around, Chuan believed little Chi-Chi's future would be much brighter. Although Zhao Lin didn't seem like the kind of person who'd harm a child, to be safe, Chuan picked up the chain from the ground and rebound Zhao Lin. He'd release Zhao Lin when it was time to eat, but since she was now going to interact closely with little Chi-Chi, Chuan had to restrict Zhao Lin's actions. Then Chuan took out a pen and paper and wrote down a warning for Shue. Do not undo her chain or get close to her. Chuan handed the note to Shue, who read it and nodded heavily. Seeing this, Chuan felt at ease leaving. As for Lightning One, it remained stationed at the door, keeping a close eye on Zhao Lin to prevent any extreme actions. Chuan was about to continue sparring with Lightning 2 when a corpse puppet sent out to search for traces of evolved zombies returned with new clues. Chuan focused his mind and switched to the perspective of one corpse puppet, seeing a massive zombie chasing a weak human. This human looked familiar to Chuan. He seemed to have seen him somewhere before. Upon careful reflection, Chuan realized this person had been running away during his last encounter with the tyrant zombie. Damn it, why do all the unlucky things happen to me? Gongzi was sprinting along the street, glancing back frequently. Behind him, a massive Tier 2 evolved zombie was chasing him. This Tier 2 zombie wasn't just ordinarily huge. If Depang's physique was like that of a 300-pound fatty, then the zombie in front was clearly of the same evolved flesh type, its exaggerated size comparable to a small car. Its enormous size caused the ground to tremble as it ran through the streets. Gongzi looked extremely pale. His injuries from being torn by the tyrant had yet to completely heal, and he had just ventured out to scavenge for supplies only to be targeted by another Tier 2 zombie. Gongzi was almost furious to the point of spitting blood. He really couldn't understand who he had offended recently, to be so unlucky time and again. This survivor base flyer didn't say it like this. Didn't it say that evolvers are 1 in a million and extremely powerful? Why, as an evolver, do I keep getting chased by zombies? Gongzi kept running wildly on the street, feeling like crying without tears. He truly couldn't understand what he did wrong to be so unlucky as to encounter evolved zombies wherever he went. Just you wait till I evolve and get stronger. I'll take your head off. Gongzi, panting as he was chased by this evolved zombie, climbed to the top of a car and roared angrily at it. Bang! This level 2 Tang zombie was extremely large. With a wave of its hands, it pushed all the cars along the way aside. Seeing this, Gongzi was startled, originally thinking to use these simple obstacles to slow it down. He hadn't expected that this large zombie, just like the tyrant he encountered before, wouldn't be affected by simple obstacles like cars piled on the street at all. To speed up his escape, Gongzi looked at the bent steel bar in his hand and simply threw it out. The original machete was lost during the fight with a level 2 tyrant, and even if found, it was already dull and unusable. So Gongzi found this piece of rebar at a construction site, using his tremendous strength to knock down ordinary zombies with a single blow. But when facing this powerful zombie, when Gongzi struck down with a staff, not only was it unharmed, but the steel bar in his hand was greatly twisted. Especially the recoil made Gongzi's palm tingle, and it was still bleeding. Gongzi no longer dared to clash head-on with such a zombie. He just wanted to escape as soon as possible. Chuan was overjoyed when he discovered the evolved zombie's tracks through the corpse puppet's perspective. He had been sending out corpse puppets for several days without any results. Finally, heaven rewarded his perseverance. He finally encountered one. Chuan was about to go and subdue it immediately, as such a powerful level 2 zombie could only be controlled by getting close due to his current spiritual power. But before he could set out, his brows furrowed deeply. The evolver who came with Zhao Lin to Sunshine District had not been seen for several days, leaving Chuan uneasy. After all, that evolver's strength was extraordinary and much smarter than Zhao Lin. Without finding his whereabouts, it would be risky for Chuan to go out or leave little Chi-Chi alone in Sunshine Home. Chuan thought it over and made a decision, immediately sending Lightning 2 to attract this big guy. Although he couldn't easily go out himself, leading this zombie to Sunshine District would play into his hands. Lightning 2, as an agile zombie, was very fast. Plus, Chuan's continuous manipulation of corpse puppets in the area gave him familiarity with the terrain. Now under Chuan's control, Lightning 2 quickly approached this big guy. Seeing the human evolver being chased and turning pale with fear, Chuan couldn't help but shake his head. This guy was really unlucky. After nearing, Chuan was once again stunned by its massive size. With an evolved zombie approaching, the level 2 tank zombie immediately howled at the sky, its attention drawn instantly to Lightning 2. More accurately, it was drawn by the crystal core in Lightning 2's head. Without a word, it abandoned Gongzi and charged towards Lightning 2. Chuan controlled Lightning 2 to turn and run. Using its speed and agility, Chuan kept this level 2 Tang zombie always trailing behind. Gongzi was at a loss. Watching the evolved zombie run away, his back was drenched in cold sweat. He had already been cornered, seeing the big guy's terrifying thick arms about to smash his head. Unexpectedly, the zombie suddenly paused, then ran off for some unknown reason. Having narrowly escaped death, Gongzi's heart was pounding in his throat. Damn it, I can't stay in this place. There are monsters everywhere. No way, I've got to run. Staying in Zhanghai City any longer, and I might lose my life. With that, Gongzi ran off without hesitation. The level 2 Tang zombie was much more terrifyingly furious than Depang. The obstacles on the way seemed like paper to this level 2 Tang zombie. The abandoned cars along the way were either knocked aside or smashed flat. Even the street lamps were toppled by this large, evolved zombie. Chuan controlled Lightning 2 to flee while watching over his shoulder, noticing the level 2 Tang zombie was even bulkier than before. Especially its extraordinarily thick arms. They now looked like they were made of metal, clearly stronger in defense than Depang. In Sunshine District, after chatting with Zhao Lin for a while, Ji Ruxue went back to the 7th floor. Boom, boom, boom. Hearing the rumbling sounds from outside, Ji Ruxue was startled and rushed to the balcony to check. She saw a huge level 2 tank zombie chasing her dad's level 1 agile evolved zombie, arriving at the entrance of Sunshine District. Depang, armed with dual hammers, was also at the entrance, ready to fight. Ji Ruxue instantly realized her dad was going to control the evolved zombies to fight this level 2 tank zombie. This is a level 2 tank zombie. Can dad really stop it with just 3 level 1 evolved zombies? Frowning with concern for her dad, Ji Ruxue stealthily followed towards the main gate. Roar! Roar! The level 2 tank zombie sensed multiple evolved zombies inside Sunshine District, instinctively excited. Chuan was already at the gate, surprised by the zombie's size. Yet Chuan didn't hesitate, directly releasing telekinesis to forcibly control it. Roar! The level 2 tank zombie suddenly stiffened, then let out a series of terrifying howls. Its massive body began to tremble incessantly, but in just a few moments, the evolved zombie suddenly calmed down, standing quietly in place. Ji Ruxue, hiding in the shadows, was stunned by this sight. He tamed it just like that. Her dad was even more amazing than she imagined, truly worthy of being the Corpse King. Ji Ruxue knew that the Corpse King had absolute suppressive power over ordinary evolved zombies. But when she witnessed the process firsthand, she was still extremely shocked. On the other side, Chuan watched the second-tier tank zombie he had subdued, unable to suppress the upward curve of his lips. The combat power of a second-tier zombie was incomparable to that of a first-tier zombie. If it weren't for his use of the terrain and personally controlling Lightning 2 to frantically flee, Lightning 2 probably wouldn't have withstood a single punch from this second-tier tank zombie. Now that the second-tier evolved zombie he had long desired was finally in his grasp, Chuan felt like a child with a new toy, starting to test this big guy's combat capabilities. Bang! 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 The massive figure of the second-tier tank zombie made the earth tremble with every move. Chuan controlled this second-tier evolved zombie to approach the roadside and directly punched a nearby car. Bang! With just a single punch, the glass shattered instantly, and the car body was dented. Such immense strength made Chuan's eyelids twitch, his eyes filled with excitement. He then controlled the second-tier tank zombie to lift its strong arms and threw the smashed car over 100 meters away, hitting the ground with a loud crash. Such horrifying giant strength startled Chuan. It's essential to note that the car weighed several tons, but in front of the second-tier tank zombie, it was like a toy. Chuan maneuvered the second-tier tank zombie to the entrance of the district, standing beside Depang for comparison, finding its size several times larger. Depang was already enormously bulky for a tank zombie, standing at about 2 meters tall with an exceptionally robust torso, and even its forearm was several times thicker than other zombies' thighs. However, the second-tier tank zombie was 3 meters tall, just in height. Its massive body was as sturdy as a small car, and Chuan surmised it would take 2 Depang stacked together to barely equal this second-tier tank zombie. Chuan deliberately approached this zombie and punched its body several times. This resulted in a sound akin to iron being struck, with its terrifying defense causing his fist to ache. As expected of a second-tier evolved zombie, its power truly is formidable. With this mighty second-tier tank zombie, the combat power of Chuan's corpse puppet team soared several-fold. Chuan patted the second-tier tank zombie gently, saying, "Since you're the second big guy from now on, you'll be called Air Pang." Chuan controlled the Pang and Air Pang to stand together, grinning from ear to ear. This is great, Depang now has a brother. With the arrival of Air Pang, the responsibility of guarding fell from Depang's shoulders. Air Pang stood at the gate of Sunshine District, its enormous figure blocking half of the entrance. His deterrence was even greater than that of the hammer-wielding Depang. Hiding in the shadows, Ji Ruxue saw that not only was her father unharmed, but he had also gained a powerful second-tier zombie, which made her very happy. With this powerful second-tier tank zombie around, there shouldn't be any immediate safety issues for Dad. To avoid being exposed, Ji Rushiue swiftly returned to building number 5 before Lu Chuan came home, pretending as if nothing had happened. Gongzi was leaning against a hidden alley at this moment, panting heavily, his heart pounding as he recalled the massive evolved zombie he had just encountered. Damn it, life really isn't livable. He took out a flyer he had found earlier from his pocket and glanced at the introduction to the survivor base, a look of determination flashing across his eyes. If I had known the zombies in this city were evolving so fast, I wouldn't have stayed here. 2. Gongzi spat out a mouthful of bloody saliva, a hint of ferocity flashing in his eyes. After being chased by the second-tier evolved zombie, all the lackeys that were with him had been swatted to death. Even the few women he had picked up after the apocalypse to satisfy his desires didn't escape the zombies' killing. Now, Gongzi found himself alone once again. Opening the attached map on the flyer, Gongzi began carefully planning his escape route. The area he was currently in was devoid of supplies and frequently encountered evolved zombies. He would have to be out of his mind to choose to continue hiding here. However, looking at the city map in his hands, Gongzi found himself at a bit of a loss. Having not been in Shanghai City for long after coming here for work, he was unfamiliar with the place, making it difficult to navigate with just a map. After simply identifying a few landmarks to determine the general direction, Gongzi grabbed a steel bar from the roadside, preparing to head toward the survivor base. Swish! Swish! As an evolver with awakened giant strength, Gongzi's combat abilities, although not comparable to a second-tier evolved zombie, were more than sufficient against ordinary zombies wandering near the roadside. The thumb-thick rebar in his hand was as effective as a divine weapon. With a single strike, the head of an ordinary zombie would explode. Watching the blood splatter after the zombie's head exploded, a cruel glint flashed in Gongzi's eyes. With the recent relentless pursuit by second-tier evolved zombies, the apocalyptic life he once somewhat enjoyed had vanished, taking a significant toll on Gongzi's mental state. Seeing the zombies fall easily at his hand, a smirk appeared at the corner of Gongzi's mouth. He then seemed to forget his original aim and charged at the zombies ahead. Bang! 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 As Gongzi exerted his strength, the zombies ahead fell one by one. Yet, the bliss was short-lived as the commotion caused by the rampaging Gongzi attracted 2 evolved zombies. A tank zombie and an agile zombie charged at Gongzi when they saw him being so fierce. Even though Gongzi was an evolver, he found himself at a disadvantage when fighting 2 opponents at once. In just a few rounds, the agile zombie slashed a huge wound across his abdomen. The intense pain snapped Gongzi back to his senses, making him realize he was surrounded by a horde of zombies. Hey, run this way. Just then, Gongzi suddenly heard a call and saw 4 people standing at the corner of another street, gesturing for him to come over. Without thinking, Gongzi ran towards the 4, with the 2 evolved zombies hot on his heels. Unexpectedly, all 4 people turned out to be evolvers, working so well together that they quickly killed the 2 evolved zombies. Then the 4 came over to Gongzi, eyeing him up and down. Bro, you were quite good at killing zombies just now. You must be an evolver too, right? Gongzi saw the agility and strength of the 4 people in front of him, and couldn't help but swallow nervously. It had been over 2 months since the apocalypse began, and it was the first time he encountered so many evolvers. The cooperation among the 4 was seamless, clearly not their first time. This naturally aroused some curiosity in Gongzi about the 4's identity. Meanwhile, Lu Chuan was in the Sunshine District, looking at the newly acquired second-order evolved zombie below, feeling overjoyed. The recent incident in the Sunshine District made Lu Chuan realize that he must enhance his strength as quickly as possible. Lu Chuan controlled Air Pang and De Pang to stand within the district, and without using weapons, the 2 giants crashed together. As a result, the originally very sturdy De Pang was directly knocked away by Air Pang. Although both were tank-type zombies, Air Pang was like an adult picking a fight with a kindergarten, and they weren't on the same level. Depang swung its massive iron hammers, which, to the more enormous second zombie, were akin to holding two toothpicks. Chuan stood on the balcony, stroking his chin, and fell into deep thought. From his experience controlling zombies, those with weapons were on a completely different level than those without. The issue was how to equip Pang with a suitable weapon. Depang and the agile zombies could rummage through the hardware store for contraband, but it wasn't as easy for Pang. The strength of a second-order evolved zombie had grown absurdly, capable of throwing cars weighing several tons hundreds of meters away, making ordinary things far from being able to exhibit its power. Chuan's eyes lit up. Through his exploration, he found a construction site and a steel mill not far from Sunshine Home, which might house a suitable weapon for Pang. Chuan then controlled Pang and Lightning 2 to head to the nearest steel mill from Sunshine Home. The steel mill had long been abandoned post-apocalypse, with a littering of discarded materials. There were quite a few bodies and wandering zombies inside the mill, but they dared not approach after sensing Pang's powerful aura. Chuan directed Pang to keep searching for a handy material in the mill. Finally, Chuan set his sights on a massive metal rod nearly 3 meters long and roughly 30 centimeters in diameter. Though he didn't know what it was for, just its weight was intimidating, much more imposing than Depang's iron hammer. This solid steel rod weighed a terrifying amount. Anyone else wouldn't think of using such an exaggerated thing as a weapon. It weighed over a ton, which normal people couldn't even lift, let alone wield as a weapon. Chuan maneuvered Pang to the open center of the steel mill and immediately swung the rod around. In Pang's hands, the rod, weighing more than a ton, was swung with ferocity. Watching this from Lightning 2's perspective made Chuan's scalp tingle. To test the weapon's power, Chuan directed Pang to use the rod on an abandoned car on the street. Bang! 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 With one swing, the roadside car was smashed to smithereens, and even when thrown, the rod could pierce through thinner concrete walls. Seeing Pang with a new weapon, Chuan was dumbfounded. With his 3-meter-long steel rod, Pang became a demon lord of chaos, possessing the terrifying strength to stop anyone in his tracks. As time goes by, there'll be more evolvers and mutated zombies, so I need to accelerate my evolution too. A cold gleam flashed in Chuan's eyes. This incident at Sunshine District had made him deeply aware of the importance of strength. Now, with Pang's formidable combat strength, it was time to continue hunting other second-order zombies and mutated fierce beasts, absorbing crystal cores to enhance his power. Inside Building 5 of the Sunshine District, in a room on the 5th floor where Zhao Lin was held, the adorable princess-dressed Jirushua was feeding Zhao Lin bread, bit by bit. If one ignored Lightning 1, standing at the door with a steel knife and Zhao Lin's bindings, it would indeed be a very warm scene. Chuan recently noticed little Chi-Chi seemed to enjoy chatting with Zhao Lin, so he let the little one feed Zhao Lin. This way, Zhao Lin wouldn't have to be unchained every mealtime, reducing risk while allowing the little one more social interaction to break the monotony. Zhao Lin ate the fragrant bread while observing the numerous supplies in the room. Little Chi-Chi, all this baby formula must be for you, right? Zhao Lin was quite puzzled about how this amount of formula and baby supplies were gathered. Compared to the supplies amassed with her team over more than 2 months, this room's collection was abysmal. Reflecting on the previous battles and the oddities in Building 5, a glint of suspicion flashed in Zhao Lin's eyes. Little Chi-Chi, be honest with sister. Corpse King is probably your dad, right? Zhao Lin felt the situation in Building 5 was too bizarre, so she looked at Jirushua inquisitively. Facing Zhao Lin's question, Jirushua only beamed innocently, continuing to tear pieces of bread to feed Zhao Lin. Jirushua chuckled inwardly, thinking that this 9 deaths demon police wasn't too dumb, but obtaining information about her father from her was impossible. In an alley in Jianghai City, 4 evolvers were using medical supplies to tend to Gongzi's abdominal wound. So, you're all from Jianghai City? Gongzi said solemnly. One of them, a muscular man with slicked-back black hair, nodded. Yes, we originally lived nearby, and we came back to see if we had any surviving relatives left. Hiding in Shanghai City, you probably don't know, by hunting these evolved zombies and beasts mutated after the Red Moon, you can obtain crystal cores from them. These crystal cores are treasures post-apocalypse, exchangeable for evolution potions at the survivor base. Only by becoming an evolver can one gradually grow stronger. Gonzi looked at the clean clothes and excellent equipment on the four people, then glanced at his own tattered attire, resembling a beggar, further disheveled from continuously evading pursuit by second-tier zombies. Though both sides were evolvers, the gap between them was evidently substantial. This reinforced Gongzi's resolve to go to the survivor base. The reason why this evolution team of 4 people saved Gongzi was also because they valued his identity as an evolver. After the apocalypse, those who awakened as evolvers held a high status in the survivor base. Yet, the power of evolved zombies and mutated fierce beasts in the apocalypse was equally terrifying, meaning even evolvers were not invincible. They could only enhance their combat power by continuously taking evolution potions, and recruiting evolvers into their team could undoubtedly greatly lower death risks. Although Gongzi appeared untrained and very disheveled, he was undoubtedly a capable melee combat evolver. As an evolver, Gongzi's injury recovery speed was much faster than that of ordinary people. Coupled with just undergoing a simple bandage, he stood up and looked at the 4 people in front of him. After the apocalypse arrived, it allowed him, originally just an ordinary person, to experience the thrill of power, having underlings to scold at will and women to satisfy his desires. This lifestyle was something he couldn't have imagined before. But the arrival of second-tier zombies completely shattered this brief, debauched life. Anyway, I have no ties left in Shanghai City, so I'll go with you to the survivor base. Inside building number 5, after feeding Zhao Lin some bread, Ji Ruxue thoughtfully found a straw for Zhao Lin to drink mineral water. Looking at the materials piled like mountains around her, Zhao Lin couldn't help but smile bitterly. Who would have thought that the most comfortable days I would spend after the apocalypse would be in the territory of the Corpse King? After these frequent interactions over the past 2 days, the young and older women talked a lot, drawing closer in their relationship. After all, Ji Ruxue's external appearance was merely that of an infant, so Zhao Lin was almost entirely unguarded around such a cute Ji Ruxue. "What did you say? You're not even 1 year old?" Zhao Lin couldn't help but exclaim. Upon learning Ji Ruxue's true age, Zhao Lin felt her worldview crumbling. Which family child under 1 year old can run upstairs and downstairs and can communicate normally with people? Is this reasonable? But then as Zhao Lin looked at Ji Ruxue, her gaze showed a trace of pity and heartbreak. Such a pity for such a kind and adorable girl. Someone as smart as her should be treasured by her parents. Yet she was born into such a cruel apocalypse where hope is invisible, and even had to live amongst these bloodthirsty zombies. What kind of hellish life is this? Immediately, Zhao Lin's eyes showed a flicker of determination. If she still had a chance to get out alive, she would take little Chi-Chi with her no matter what. Since she was human, she should live in human society. Zhao Lin absolutely could not allow little Chi-Chi to live a precarious life with these bloodthirsty monsters. Looking at Zhao Lin, Ji Ruxue lifted her head with an innocent smile. "Mrs. Zhao Lin, if you can get out, what would you want to do?" Hearing this from Ji Ruxue, Zhao Lin was momentarily stunned, but then her eyes showed a flicker of resolve. "Call me sister." "Sister, I'm a police officer. Naturally, in this apocalypse, I must use my ability to protect survivors, protect ordinary people from the harm of zombies," Zhao Lin said quite matter-of-factly. Hearing this, Ji Ruxue couldn't help but smile bitterly internally. No wonder she's been conned so many times. This woman is adorably naive. In this apocalypse where survival knows no limits, she still thinks of sacrificing herself for others. Then Ji Ruxue feigned casualness and asked, "But what if those people aren't worth protecting?" Hearing this, Zhao Lin was stunned. recalling scenes from the police station. Obviously, she risked her life outside to find supplies, yet not only did the survivors not appreciate it, they even blamed her for bringing less and less. Initially, there were numerous officers at the station, but as rescue missions and searches continued, their numbers dwindled gradually. Yet their efforts did not bring any gratitude from the survivors. Even her life seemed insignificant to the survivors. Ji Rushue's words awakened Zhao Lin's memories, plunging her into silence. But as Zhao Lin looked down and saw the police badge on her clothes, recalling the vow she made upon joining the force, it strengthened her resolve once more. I'm a police officer. As such, I must protect the safety of ordinary people, keeping danger away from them. Seeing Zhao Lin so determined, Ji Rushue helplessly sighed inwardly. Indeed, this 9-death demon police remains naive in the early days of the apocalypse. Then Ji Rushue showed an innocent and cute smile. Sister Zhao Lin, I'm just an ordinary person too. Won't you protect me as well? If one day you find the world isn't as beautiful as you imagined, when you feel you don't want to protect others anymore, remember to protect me. Seeing little Chi-Chi's cute demeanor, Zhao Lin instantly smiled and promised, Don't worry, sister promises you. If that time comes, I'll find you. Looking at Zhao Lin's current radiant smile, Ji Rushue couldn't help but pity this woman whose beauty hid her brainless nature. Hopefully, you'll continue smiling like this when you truly see the ugliness of humans in the apocalypse and understand what heart despair is. Meanwhile, Ji Rushue also held some anticipation that in this life, starting the cultivation technique early, a 9-death demon police who previously halted at the Emperor realm might achieve what heights. Through continuous enhancement recently, Lu Chuan's spiritual power can now manipulate over 100 ordinary corpse puppets. In pursuit of continually obtaining crystal cores for breakthroughs, Lu Chuan manipulated Lightning One, accompanied by more than 20 corpse puppets, tirelessly searching for evolved zombie tracks. Suddenly, Lu Chuan felt a twitch in his mind and swiftly shifted to the corpse puppet's perspective. There, on a street not far from the corpse puppet squad, was a mighty second-tier tyrant zombie. But at this moment, the tyrant zombie was besieged, with several human survivors continuously launching attacks around it. The evolution team, fighting against the second-stage tyrant zombie, was exactly Gongzi and the others from earlier. To continuously gain strength and acquire a higher status, Gongzi also chose to join this evolution team. Looking at the second-stage tyrant zombie in front of him, Gongzi's eyes were filled with rage. Enemies become especially furious upon meeting. Gongzi's survivor team was once broken by a second-stage tyrant zombie. His subordinates and women were brutally killed one by the other side, and even he himself almost died at the hands of this kind of second-stage tyrant zombie. Although Gongzi knew the one in front of him wasn't the same one that had attacked him, he needed a target to vent the anger in his heart. However, Gongzi didn't act rashly because the combat power of a second-stage tyrant zombie is extremely terrifying. With his strength, he doesn't even have the qualification to retaliate. Among the 4-person squad, the burly man with slicked-back black hair was still able to remain calm in the face of the second-stage tyrant zombie. As the captain of this evolution squad, he issued orders while pulling out a jet-black machete from behind his back. The machete was more than half a meter long, with a very hefty blade, clearly a weapon of overwhelming power. Like Gongzi, his evolution direction was similar, both being strength-type close combat evolvers. Gongzi, we're both strength-type evolvers. Let's pin him down front and back. Upon hearing the squad captain's order, Gongzi hesitated for a moment. He had fought against these kind of tyrants before, and back then his machete had even gotten dull without injuring the opponent at all, while he himself nearly got killed by a single strike from the enemy. Faced again with this zombie, although he had anger in his heart, the psychological shadow still made Gongzi somewhat indecisive. At that moment, Gongzi suddenly felt the wound on his abdomen was rapidly healing, and he quickly looked behind him with an astonished expression. He saw a young man in his 20s with slanting bangs, releasing some kind of peculiar energy towards him from his raised arm. During Gongzi's split-second distraction, the second-stage tyrant zombie had already rushed up to him. Whoosh! With a piercing sound hitting the air, a crossbow bolt accurately shot towards the torso of the second-stage tyrant zombie. Although blocked by it, it bought Gongzi some time to dodge. He saw a man wearing glasses standing atop a distant car roof, holding a black military crossbow in his hands. "Bro, my ability is reconnaissance. I'll provide you guys with remote support." After launching the crossbow bolt to harass the tyrant, the man smiled at Gongzi. "Gongzi, don't be afraid. Just go up. Our team brought along a healer." Gongzi then realized that his wounds had accelerated healing due to the awakening ability of that evolver. With an evolver who could provide healing, Gongzi felt more confident. Immediately, he ran to the back of the second-stage tyrant with 2 pieces of rebar, forming a pincer with the squad captain. The second-stage tyrant zombie was terrifyingly strong and fast. Its claws could tear apart even cars with a swing. Among those present, only the squad captain and Gongzi could barely withstand the opponent's attacks head-on. The front and back formation they formed now somewhat confused the tyrant zombie. But the second-stage tyrant didn't think much, roaring as it charged directly at the squad captain, its terrifying claws creating a fierce wind in midair. Bang! The strength of the second-stage evolved zombie was immense. Even though the squad captain had giant strength and held a steel blade in front of him, he was still forced to retreat repeatedly. Though he looked a bit embarrassed, he managed to block the attack with his machete. Gongzi also rushed over wielding rebar, striking hard at the tyrant zombie's knee joint. The terrifying giant strength in him made the tyrant zombie's left leg quiver uncontrollably. Even as powerful as the second-stage tyrant zombie was, under such heavy damage, it couldn't help but stumble and kneel on one knee. Whoosh! While the tyrant zombie's body was tilting, a swooshing sound filled the air. A silver-white blade flash sliced through the sky. A bald man with a determined face appeared, wielding a steel blade, instantly slashing a huge cut at the tyrant zombie's neck. Before the tyrant zombie could swing its claws, he stepped on the evolution team's captain's shoulder and quickly retreated to a distance. This bald man was the assault member of the squad, becoming an evolver after the Blood Moon event, possessing tremendous speed. Though the second-stage tyrant zombie's body defense was extremely tough, the bald man's slash created a massive wound at its neck, but still couldn't kill it. Roar! Being obstructed at both ends and constantly harassed by 2 other evolvers, made the second-stage tyrant incredibly furious. The tyrant's claws swung, sending the first-stage Gongzi flying away. Gongzi's grip on the rebar tore his tiger mouth open, and blood flowed uncontrollably. But then, a warm flow surged through his hands, immediately healing the wounds at his tiger mouth. Gongzi nodded towards the teammate providing treatment and charged again. Fighting alongside the evolution team made Gongzi feel a lot more relieved. Despite the second-stage tyrant's formidable strength, under the relentless siege of Gongzi and 4 others, it gradually started falling into a disadvantage. From time to time, getting shot by military crossbows or left with long, narrow cuts by the bald man's steel blade. But the tyrant's recovery ability was extremely strong, and the injuries would return to normal not long after. Isn't that the unfortunate guy who was chased by second-stage evolved zombies before? Chuan operated Lightning 2, hiding in the darkness, observing the scene while recognizing Gongzi's familiar face. Since when did so many evolvers appear around here? And they cooperated seamlessly. Their team's combat strength is quite impressive. Chuan could tell the team's setup was very standard, with someone dealing with close combat control, others continually harassing and assaulting, and even having a healer. Although now the second-stage tyrant can persist through its powerful recovery ability, eventually it will surely be the zombie that falls. Chuan had a difficult time finding such a second-stage zombie. He definitely wouldn't let someone else take it. Immediately, he operated Air Pang, carried the newly acquired steel rod, and headed from Sunshine District to this place. Go ahead, fight as fiercely as you want. I'll teach you the meaning of the mantis chasing the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Rushua had just returned to the 7th floor when she found her father sitting motionlessly on the couch. Even as she entered the room, there wasn't the slightest reaction. Her father stared blankly ahead, and upon closer inspection, his blood-red pupils now seemed somewhat hollow. Rushua immediately realized that her father must be focusing intensely on controlling other zombies, causing his own body to enter a state of suspension. Has father encountered some special situation again? The Corpse King can act on its own while controlling zombies, but with her father's current state, he must have personally taken over a zombie body. Rushua quickly ran to the balcony and looked into the district through the window. Sure enough, the Tier 2 tank zombie that almost blocked half of the Sunshine District entrance was now gone. This further confirmed to Rushua that her father was currently controlling a Tier 2 zombie in action. Looks like father has encountered a Tier 2 zombie again. I wonder what type of zombie it is this time, but given father's current zombie control combat power, it should be manageable. Roar, roar, roar. The Tier 2 tyrant zombie, being besieged by Gongzi and others, was now furious. Despite having formidable combat power, it was being restrained by this evolution team, rendering it unable to inflict effective damage. Every charge by the Tier 2 tyrant zombie was countered by the team captain and Gongzi head-on. This Tier 2 tyrant was indeed very powerful, sometimes able to simultaneously push back both Gongzi and the captain. However, the evolver responsible for reconnaissance would accurately shoot crossbow bolts to disrupt the tyrant's actions. With the team's close cooperation, they consistently confined the Tier 2 tyrant between Gongzi and the captain, preventing it from attacking the others. Although the Tier 2 zombie was extremely strong, Gongzi and the captain would occasionally get injured. But because the team included an evolver who could heal, both could quickly recover their combat strength, even if injured. The recovery ability of the Tier 2 tyrant zombie was indeed formidable. Despite being hit by many crossbow bolts and secretly slashed countless times by the bald man, the team captain and Gongzi, during direct confrontation, would occasionally leave some wounds unnoticed, but they never brought the evolved zombie down. It was clear, however, that under the relentless targeting by the team, the Tier 2 tyrant zombie was also reaching its limit. The healing speed of the wounds on its body had slowed significantly compared to before, and the multiple cuts from the bald man's machete had not healed yet. Kneel down for me. Just as the tyrant zombie and the captain were clashing head-on, Gongzi launched another ambush, and the rebar in his hand smashed heavily onto the zombie's kneecap. Crack! The crisp sound of bone breaking echoed along the street. The massive body of the Tier 2 tyrant then half-knelt on the ground. After enduring successive attacks from the team, the Tier 2 tyrant zombie finally couldn't hold on any longer. An injury to one leg severely impacted the Tier 2 tyrant, drastically reducing its movement speed, and even due to the loss of support from its leg, its attack frequency and power also decreased significantly. This made the survivor squad, which could already restrain him through cooperation, even more at ease. Seeing the Tier 2 tyrant half-kneel on the ground, the people present immediately beamed with joy. In front of them was a genuine Tier 2 zombie. If they could successfully kill it and obtain the Tier 2 zombie's crystal core, they could exchange it for 5 bottles of primary evolution potion back at the survivor base. They might even exchange it for a bottle of medium evolution potion, allowing an evolver to advance to Tier 2. Currently, for survivors, the key to enhancing their strength relies on these evolution potions. In the current survivor base, the demon core of such a Tier 2 evolved zombie is extremely precious. The 5 were so excited that their offensive became increasingly fierce. But at this moment, the evolver responsible for recon and long-range zombie harassment suddenly noticed something amiss. He felt the ground beneath him starting to tremble slightly. After the apocalypse, his sensory ability increased significantly, allowing him to perceive the ground shaking and hear a series of sounds. Not long after, he spotted a gigantic being at the other end of the street, a terrifying presence with a body even larger than the Tier 2 tyrant. The oppressive aura emanating from that Tier 2 tank zombie left the evolver responsible for reconnaissance utterly stunned. Everyone, be careful. There's another Tier 2 tank zombie coming. Upon hearing the warning from their companion, the faces of the evolver team members instantly changed as they were engaged in battle. Bang! 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 During their moment of shock, the air pang controlled by Chuan had already bulldozed its way near the battlefield. Seeing the imposing Tier 2 tank zombie charging forward, the evolver team was startled. They had already been holding their ground against a Tier 2 tyrant for a long time. Facing another zombie was already the limit. If another Tier 2 zombie arrived, these people might no longer have a way out. Damn it, how come we encounter another zombie at this particular moment? The Survivor Squad captain was infuriated seeing the Tier 2 tank zombie charging towards them. Though reluctant, for survival's sake, he had no choice but to give the order to retreat. Brothers, our lives are important. Retreat quickly. Under the captain's orders, the team quickly withdrew in a direction opposite to the two zombies. Bang! 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 Air pang, under Chuan's control, had reached the battlefield. The two Tier 2 evolved zombies, upon meeting, immediately became enraged. The Tier 2 tyrant zombie ignored the retreating Gongzi and others, rushing straight towards Airpang. However, due to its injured leg from the joint attack of the team, it was now staggering. Chuan noticed this, and a cold smirk appeared on his lips. Then the metal rod, forged from steel in his hand, started to swing rapidly. The sound of the over 1-ton metal rod being swung was enough to make one's scalp tingle. Bam! One swing for number 2 was all it took to send the Tier 2 tyrant zombie flying with the steel rod. Already unstable, the Tier 2 tyrant zombie stood no chance against the steel rod-wielding Airpang. With one strike after another, Airpang took down the already injured Tier 2 tyrant zombie, leaving its bones fractured in many places. Those watching secretly, including Gongzi, were all shocked and terrified at this scene. The slick-back crew haircut team captain was even more astonished with his mouth agape. Are you kidding? Since when can zombies use weapons too? This evolver team hurried from a survivor base to Jianghai City, encountering quite a few types of evolved zombies along the way. They encountered both agile zombies and tank zombies, and even had skirmishes with them. Among the zombies they faced, the fighting style of these zombies resembled wild beasts. To them, zombies are just zombies, nothing more than a group of thoughtless, bloodthirsty monsters. Their attacks merely consist of swinging claws or biting and pouncing, which can be fatal to regular people. But these powerful evolvers, with their abundant combat skills and coordinated teamwork, often manage to achieve final victory. However, the zombie before them is simply too outrageous. The few of them stared wide-eyed, their gaze filled with shock. They had encountered many zombies before, but this is the first time they've seen a zombie that can use weapons. What kind of monster is this? Why can it use weapons? According to the base's information, isn't this a tank-type evolved zombie? Since when did tank-type evolved zombies get this powerful? Everyone in the team wore a look of astonishment. As time progressed, the survivor base gradually published the types and characteristics of zombies currently discovered. Before setting out, they had already reviewed much of this information. The attack methods of tank-type zombies usually rely on their strong arms to destroy everything in front of them in a destructive manner. The characteristics of tank-type zombies are that their bodies are unusually strong, with extremely high defense. Especially their arms, which seem forged of steel, making it hard even for ordinary evolvers to inflict serious damage. However, in terms of speed, tank-type zombies are slightly inferior. The new Tier 2 zombie in front of them, while matching the feature of a large, muscular, and powerful physique, has a combat style that's entirely different from the records. Could this evolved zombie have mutated? The bald, agile evolver among the team, wielding a steel knife, spoke with a serious expression. The base says these zombies usually fight head-on, relying on strength to overpower the opponent. Look, this zombie is waving that metal stick. Even though it follows the line of overwhelming power, the stick technique is very skilled, rather than mindless swinging. Its coordination between each attack and the utilization of various stick techniques make it resemble not a zombie, but a skilled martial artist. Upon hearing this, all the members of the evolution team present wore serious expressions. And while they were discussing in secret, Air Peng, under Lu Chuan's control, relied on its strong physique and a more than 1-ton steel staff, had already beaten the Tier 2 tyrant zombie to the ground, unable to move. Crack! Crack! The originally strong Tier 2 tyrant zombie's bones were now fractured all over, unable even to stand. Seeing the tyrant zombie in such a sorry state, Lu Chuan nodded satisfied. Not long ago, he could only control zombies to flee crazily in front of him. Now the tables have turned. Lu Chuan controlled Air Peng to smash the tyrant zombie's head to pieces with one swipe, simultaneously obtaining the evolution crystal core from the zombie's brain. The Evolver team, who were hiding and observing from afar, felt unwilling upon seeing this scene. They had spent quite a long time here to get the Tier 2 tyrant zombie's crystal core. Seeing that they had injured the Tier 2 tyrant zombie and would soon be able to defeat it, they would return to the survivor base to exchange it for a priceless evolution potion. But they didn't expect plans to change. The suddenly appearing Tier 2 tank-type zombie disrupted their original plans. Forget about obtaining the zombie's crystal core. If they ran slower, they might have already perished under the stick. Gongzi's face was very dour, being chased by the Tier 2 zombie so many times, finally having a chance to slay it, yet having to give up in vain, made him very unhappy. Gongzi asked unwillingly, "We're just going to let him go." The 4 people next to him from the survivor squad turned to look at Gongzi bizarrely, and the squad captain made a gesture of invitation. "You could go ahead. If you're not afraid of dying, we have no objection." That's a joke. A weapon-wielding evolved zombie's combat strength is immediately doubled compared to ordinary Tier 2 zombies. Several squad members watched clearly. The steel stick wielded by this suddenly appearing tank-type zombie smashed the nearby small cars to scrap. If this terrifying force struck them, they couldn't withstand it. Facing the Tier 2 tyrant, they could still engage with coordinated teamwork, but against this tank-type zombie, there would be certain death. Seeing Gongzi's dissatisfaction, the squad captain lightly patted his shoulder. "Live to fight another day. Only by surviving can we gain more power. Furthermore, this zombie can even use weapons, which the base hadn't discovered yet. If we report this new type of zombie, we can also earn contribution points." The contribution points the captain spoke of serve as currency within the base. After the apocalypse, past currency and valuables from all countries are no longer applicable to life after the catastrophe. Instead, contribution points can be used to buy anything inside the survivor base. Acquiring contribution points is simple, like hunting zombies and mutant beasts, or collecting various supplies. Collecting various intelligence also earns contribution points, especially if they report this information on the new type of zombie. The amount of contribution points earned would likely be considerable. No idea what this zombie is called. Since it can use weapons, let's call it weapon-type zombie. The evolver holding the military crossbow couldn't help but say softly. The others nodded in agreement upon hearing this. However, Gongzi still showed traces of killing intent when looking at the massive evolved zombie. This zombie differs entirely from ordinary zombies, being able to use weapons. If it could be successfully killed, the zombie's core would surely be extremely valuable. Upon hearing Gongzi's words, the few in the team exchanged glances, momentarily tempted. Such an unusual zombie is incredibly rare. If they could bring back the crystal core, it's sure to earn a massive amount of contribution points. At the same time, on the 7th floor of the Sunshine District, a smile curved on Lu Chuan's lips. "I really didn't expect Air Peng wielding this over 1-ton metal-long stick could unleash such terrifying combat power." This time, by easily obtaining a second-tier zombie crystal core, Lu Chuan couldn't help but grin widely. To avoid any accidents, Lu Chuan controlled Air Peng to quickly return to the Sunshine District after grabbing the crystal core. After the battle ended, Chuan's consciousness finally returned to his body. As Chuan opened his eyes, Rushue was busy over there with her computer, writing and calculating. A smile curved on Chuan's lips. His daughter was not only smart and clever, but also possessed a rare, diligent, and studious attitude. Then Chuan walked over to Rushue's side, picking up the paper and pencil placed at the side, and wrote, "Little Chi-Chi, Daddy needs to go out for a while. During this time, make sure to stay at home and don't wander around." Chuan handed the note to Rushue, who quickly and obediently nodded her head. "Don't worry, Daddy. I will stay home properly." Seeing the little one's adorable smile, Chuan quickly reached out and pinched her little cheek. The little one's skin was extremely fair and smooth, as delicate as a freshly peeled egg. After instructing little Chi-Chi, Chuan quickly headed downstairs. Rushue could clearly feel that Daddy seemed to have an excited emotion, because she observed that even Chuan's steps down the stairs were different from usual. Although still fast, it was obviously a relaxed joy. And when Chuan reached downstairs, Peng, carrying the steel rod, successfully returned inside the Sunshine District. Chuan immediately took the second-tier crystal core from Peng with great interest. Indeed, it was like the one he got before, originally entirely blood red, now with large patches of orange-yellow, as the second-tier tyrant zombie continued to evolve. Seeing this crystal core, a trace of greed flashed in Chuan's mind, as if the crystal core had endless allure. Chuan couldn't help but swallow non-existent saliva, then quickly pocketed the crystal core and walked briskly towards Building 4. Chuan hadn't devoured such a second-tier, evolved zombie's crystal core for a while now. The rich energy aura before him filled Chuan with extreme excitement. However, amidst the excitement, Chuan didn't forget the preparations. Chuan ordered Peng to continue blocking the Sunshine District's main entrance as usual. Peng returned to his old post, guarding the unit door downstairs of Building 5. Lightning One remained in the room watching over Zhao Lin, also keeping an eye on the goings-on inside Building 5. To be on the safe side, Chuan divided the Gunner Corps puppet squad into two groups, arranging 3 each in Buildings 4 and 5. The other corpse puppets patrolled the district in batches like guards, with Peng guarding the district gate and Peng and Lightning One closely guarding little Chi-Chi. Chuan felt much more at ease. After all, after devouring the crystal core, he very likely would faint again for a period. No one knew when he would wake up, so setting up defenses in advance was reassuring. As for Lightning 2, it continued to follow alongside, ensuring his safety. With Lightning 2 in tow, Chuan headed to Building 4, the room where he last devoured a crystal core. Looking at the gorgeous crystal core in his hand, like a crystal gem, Chuan swallowed it in one gulp. The terrifying energy erupted within an instant. The energy contained within a second-tier tyrant zombie's crystal core, far surpassing ordinary zombies. But with prior experience, Chuan felt much more relieved this time. A large amount of energy spread through Chuan's limbs and bones. His entire body's muscles were being refined step by step, and his bones became increasingly resilient. Chuan clearly felt his physical quality was drastically improving, becoming extremely horrifying. Meanwhile, that familiar feeling came again. Terrifying telekinesis surged into his mind, and at that moment, Chuan felt as if his brain exploded. Meanwhile, in the room on the 7th floor of Building 5, Rushue seemed to vaguely hear her father's voice again. That feeling again. This definitely isn't an illusion. Rushue frowned slightly and asked with some doubt, could it be that Daddy is about to evolve? Under the overwhelming energy impact, Chuan soon fainted again. This time, to be cautious, Chuan had placed a clock in the room. When the dizziness faded and Chuan's consciousness returned to his body, he sluggishly opened his eyes to find that several hours had passed according to the clock. After evolving, that dizziness had disappeared, and his mind became exceptionally clear. His perception had greatly increased. Most crucially, Chuan discovered his physical strength had now become extremely terrifying. The explosively powerful muscle lines, and his form growing increasingly similar to a human, made Chuan very satisfied. With continuous evolution, the color of Chuan's skin, his somewhat disheveled hair, previously loose teeth, and sharp claws were all returning to a human state. What surprised Chuan the most, however, was the change in his telekinesis after devouring the crystal core. Chuan could clearly feel that this time it wasn't just an energy boost. He successfully broke through to the third tier. So both his spiritual power and physical quality underwent a huge leap from their original basis. With a surge in spiritual power, Chuan could control more second-tier zombies. Chuan even felt he could successfully control third-tier zombies. As for first-tier evolved zombies and ordinary zombies, he could easily command them in his current state. Chuan felt that he was now worthy of the name Corpse King. Such terrifying spiritual power could lead an entire zombie army on the streets. Even more terrifying, his control range for spiritual power had multiplied several times from its original basis. When Chuan was at the second tier, his range of thought covered about 10,000 meters. Now, it's multiplied several times, possessing a range of several tens of kilometers. Chuan's breathing was slightly fast, knowing this wasn't just the distance between 2 points, but thought control diameter that ignored obstacles. After successfully breaking through to the third tier, Chuan's strength experienced a qualitative change from its original basis, and this change even exceeded Chuan's expectations.